All right, guys, this is going to be Donnie coming to you from the South Japan podcast. I was trying to get one more in for February, but I didn't get it in. It's March now, and as you guys know, man, everything is rolling along. So I got my guy back again, Alan Newsome of Moto, Touge Techniques. You guys will see his face a bunch, and there's unlimited times you'll see it again. So today we're getting into a new thing. We always chop it up, but for you guys, me and Alan working on a lot of cars. What we're going to do is actually talk about, for this duration of this podcast, our top 3 to this point builds. And it's not, we kind of like offline, we brought up thing. I don't want to hide from you guys. We brought up the thing of customers, and you guys out there who are consumers or looking to start a shop, me and Alan talked about this all the time, man. It takes 2 people to have a good, kumbaya type of deal. The shop is on a point and the customer is on a point. If one of the 2 is off, it's going to be a nightmare for one party or both, you know what I mean? But anyway, just getting into it, man. Alan, before we get into it, man, how's everything been going, this thus far this year, man? And what's up with you, man?
Man, everything's been going well this year thus far, man. I've just been knocking out a lot of customer stuff, as you saw. Just wrapped up 2 different customers, so now I'm getting into a position that I really want to be in to grind out a little bit of my own personal projects and whatnot. So things are going well, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, same thing. I'm actually trying to get to that point, man. It's crazy again. This is this is March 1st, and I guess normal
it's
people,
moving.
normal people, it's like, oh man, it's going slow. But to us, we got those self-imposed deadlines, not deadlines imposed by the customer, but we want to get the stuff done. And like you said, that's why again I posted a cappuccino last night, we'll get to personal bills next time because we could definitely go hard on that. With the cappuccino, that's why it's sitting like that. And I made the post I did last night. You see the post I made.
I saw that.
And
you got the party in.
Yeah, so I was waiting on that Corona stuff and everything. And also, it's just I don't want to touch that car until I'm ready to I want to commit a whole month to that car, man. Like a whole solid.
Yeah, you want to be balls deep into it.
Yeah,
you know how it is when you try to.
Yeah.
Teeter-totter, man. That shit never gets done right.
And then you gotta warm. Then you touch the car, and I'm pretty sure you're the same way. When you get back to it, you gotta warm back up to the build, and then you get acclimated back to it. And it's like, nah, dude, I just want to be in it, engaged. But anyway, man, because you're the guest of honor, I'll let you kick it off, man. So go ahead and kick us off with your first build. Go in depth. There's no time limit on it. How did it start? And we'll go into it, man. So.
Most definitely. Number 1 bill would be customer name. I don't know his military number, but it'd be Jonathan Tabo. Gentleman out of Panama City, Florida. So it was an out-of-state bill. I think that may be something weird that I do than most shops, is I do probably 90% of my customers are out of state, which is good. That means that people find me and that my name is out there.
Right.
But so car is a 93 Mazda FD3S RX-7 touring model. So that's a sunroof, single oil cooler, blase. But what made his build so cool is more than just the level of build was the relationship, man. He's been actually, his wife and my wife are really good friends, and you know how that can be. Sometimes when you do work for friends, it can either be great or it could be a mess.
Yeah.
But obviously it was great because I stand behind my work and I don't overpromise and underdeliver. I do the opposite: underpromise, overdeliver. So that being said, with his build, so he had a used motor in there that had maybe 120,000 miles on it, and it gave out on him before I ever touched the car, obviously. And so he was in the predicament of blown motor. Basically what happened is it was mixing coolant and oil and shooting that out of the radiator. And so he obviously, number 1, he would need to diagnose, obviously it's blown coolant seals, but how bad is the damage? Number 2, what are his options going forward with the bill being semi-conservative on cost, because rotary you can get crazy, right? And number 3, setting it up where he can do the dual task of daily drive it if he wants to, but basically street driving and using it for mountain pass and track. So if you've never done all 3, that's kind of a oxymoron almost. So that's basically what the bill was. So what we did is I got him to drop Actually, excuse me. I went and picked up his car all the
Mm.
way from Panama City. He paid for obviously the transport. I brought it back to my shop, pulled the engine out, checked it, and basically what he had is the back rear rotor housing had cracked. The aluminum portion of it
Mm.
cracked on the wall. So basically, what happened is the oil within the where the rotor sits was bleeding through and mixing in with the coolant,
Gotcha.
and so that's why he ended up, having that what they call a milkshake.
Mm.
So, go ahead.
No, no, you're good, man.
Yeah, so obviously, one of the things that you and I both do is that we document every single little thing. So I've got every photo. I can still go back to it and just pull all that stuff up. But long story short is I sent him an email breaking down where the motor, lost its life, so to speak, and what our options is going forward. Now I had enough parts and could source enough parts to rebuild his engine from scratch. Um, and I give a year warranty with that, any internal damage, whatnot, with that. But we looked at the cost of me doing that labor, taking his parts and ordering parts and all that versus doing a Pineapple Racing off the shelf street port build.
Mm.
And they offer a 5-year warranty. I would never give a 5-year warranty
That's
on a
a lot.
race.
That's a lot of time, man.
Fucking, that's a lot of fucking time.
Especially on the rotary, dude. That's a lot of time.
Yes. It's a lot of time. So basically, what I did, and I agree with him, was like, dude, if you can spend the same amount and get a 5-year warranty versus a 1-year warranty, I'm not mad at you for doing that. You know what I mean? And I said, so look, this is what we do. I actually know Rob. Rob and I are good friends that own Pineapple Racing. So I contact Rob, use my business to business relationship to get him a discount on the keg. I had Rob send me the keg, and basically I took the keg, built it up with a new turbo. So we end up doing a 204Z, which is if anybody follows like Fujita Engineering and whatnot, that's like a proven turbo that they always run that for street and track use. So I told him, man, I can get that turbo, and I know you want to do something like lavish, but I can save you $1,000 by going with that ball bearing turbo versus a new like a GTX, second gen turbo. So I'm all about saving customers money,
Dude, yeah.
so that they can come back and say, man, he's not going to take advantage of me. He really looked out for me. So basically, I got that in. I spec'd the turbo up to it. We did a new manifold. I did new injectors, all new fuel lines. What else did I do? Haltech, whole new wiring harness I built from scratch to run with his Haltech. And then got it dyno tuned. It dyno tuned right at 400 and he probably don't want me telling this, but it's too late.
Yeah.
420 horsepower. So it made 420 at a moderate boost, like 18 psi, which is great power for a rotary, And then basically what I did, the cool thing about it, so how I have my initial D party, my tournament parties that I do every year.
Right.
I invited him up for that tournament. I said, well, I got a surprise look. I was like, dude, if you come up for the tournament, let's just say you only need a one-way route up here. And he was like, are you serious? Because he thought it was going to be done later. So I said, yeah, show up. Actually, I said, dude, I got the dyno scheduled already. I said, you show up and we'll pick it up from the dyno and we'll roll out. And so that's what we did. I went oversee, everything, went over the specs with my dyno tuner, and we picked it up from the dyno. We drove it. He drove it to the Initial D tournament that was at the mall that I hosted. And I drove behind him in my FD, so we were like convoy FDs. And his wife drives a RX-8, so it's her driving her RX-8. So we're rolling rotary deep with he's grinning ear to ear, dude, ear to ear. And I'm gonna send you a clip because customer testimonies speak louder than anything I could say. But he had a real cool statement about how he felt on how I did the job and just the intricate details when he saw it for the first time. Because obviously the last time he saw it was a milkshake, destruction. It wasn't the same turbo, same. I did all the couplers, the intercooler piping. I redid all of that. So it was basically a whole new car from when he got it.
Pretty much
when I got it.
Reset back to how it was Well,
Yeah, with a lot more power.
Yeah, man. That's like on that, man. The that's new. This is our first time doing this, man. So definitely post analyze or whatever. So one thing
Yeah.
you say keg, like I know what you're talking about, but like for the guys who don't know what's a keg.
Yeah, my apologies. So
Yeah.
basically, a lot of you guys may be familiar with the term short block,
Right.
which means literally just the block in the head, or they call it a long block, excuse me.
Right.
Short block, just the block.
Right.
But when you talk about rotaries, since
Yeah.
most rotaries are two rotors, basically what you have is you have two aluminum rotary housings, and then you have iron plates, center, back, and front, and they all go together, and it literally looks like a keg.
Yeah.
Because rotaries are shaped in a round motion, as you guys probably have seen pictures online. So we call that a keg.
Gosh.
Instead of because some guys will call it a long block. I need a long block replacement for my FD, and then you just set yourself up for getting roasted.
Yeah. I'll mix in the photos and stuff so people can see out there, man. But that's you nailed it, man, and that's like definitely one of the things. People seem like some people get offended when you try to save them money. Like they're like, no, I'm good for it. He's like, nah, dude, it's not a fact that you're good for it. It's just that my job, other than building your car, is also to advise you on what's out there, because a lot of customers don't know that. So that's an awesome thing, man. I do the same thing, and I see some people when I say it to them, they kind of turn their face sideways, like I can afford it. Like I'm not trying to talk about your money, man. It's just some shops out there will take you, or they'll say it costs this much, and they'll bank the money, man. And I think we run our businesses the same way, where we're in it for the long haul. And we know, like, maybe you get 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, and then that guy meets somebody else, like, hey, how much did you pay for that bill? And you tell them $35K, and you're like, dude, that was $15K worth of work, man. And you know what I mean? And and now 10 years later, you get a negative Yelp review on Facebook from a guy, and that's an awesome thing there, man, that you do for your customers, man. Same thing.
Yeah, man. I know you do the same thing. Yeah. And one note on that, one of my philosophies on that is, okay, if a lot of guys you'll see that have bills, they'll have this massive 800 horsepower potential turbo, and they'll have a Haltech 2500, or let's just say a Motec, like full like race spec, IndyCar shit.
Right.
To me, to me, when I see that car, I don't think about the customer. I think, oh, this car is designed for hill climb racing, or this car is designed for full out time attack, like unlimited class. And then when I meet the owner, he says, oh no, I built my car only for the street. I love mountain driving, and I love just cruising and getting ice cream. I step back and I say, dude, whoever built your car didn't have
When you did that,
whoever built your car didn't have your best interest in mind. You know what I mean? They didn't build your car spec to your driving potential and your driving characteristics. They built it to how much money can they spend on it.
Right. And that right there, that's the biggest thing, man, where like guys come in the shop all the time, they're just baffled when they talk to me, because number one, dude, that's why we get along so well, because we're pretty much damn near identical in our way we think and how we approach things. And I'm the type of guy, when guys like, if I hang around people talking about cars and I don't walk away, I'm like, hey man, that's not correct, or I'll find myself trying to correct guys all the time, then I just don't say nothing. And I'm like, dude's like, oh man, I got these 15,000 cc injectors and all this. I'm like, dude, so what do you do? Oh man, I just cruise around. I want 350 horsepower. I'm like, dude, way overkill. And I had a guy in the shop. I had two guys in the shop yesterday, just like dropping out with the R32 right behind me, and R34 owner actually was at the shop yesterday, right there, like kind of confirming everything I was saying. And the guy was just like, he was all off in the wilderness, like what he wanted to do. And the guy was like, yeah, dude, you don't need that. And to have a customer of mine that I just built an engine, which I'll talk about later. A lot of guys out there, they feel like they get you're trying to take them, you're trying to upsell them, and it's like, nah, dude, like we are not doing that. Other guys will do that, but that's not what we're doing, man. So, but on that build, man, that's definitely I could definitely see why that was and also the stories behind it. is why it lends to that, man. So like you guys are still in contact, the FC guy and everything.
Oh man, yeah, we're FD.
Oh, FD is FD or FC?
FD.
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 Gotcha.
Yeah, 93.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he and I are in contact, not only in contact, but he's the type where if I say, hey man, I'm coming down to Florida, or whatever, he's like, man, don't get a hotel, come stay at my house.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's one. I wouldn't even feel comfortable doing that with. I wouldn't even want that relationship with most of my customers because that's just not my personality.
Right.
But he and I, we gel like that, just like you and I, we gel like that,
Right.
and that's really, really, important to me to have someone that's not only a customer but a friend. One of very few.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely, man. That's definitely a thing right there where you have to be careful because, some guys, they feel like man, like you're being like you got a wall up. It's like, dude, you have to. It's like, again, I use a lot of analogies, man, and I'm like, dude, like when you got an iPhone correct in your pocket or whatever, customer, and I'm like, dude, when Steve Jobs was alive or whatever, I'm like, dude, you weren't buddies with Steve Jobs. You bought the product, but he didn't come hang out at your barbecue. Like it's like they just kind of, and they seem like to the independent businesses. I hate to use the word small because we ain't doing small shit, but the independent businesses, man, like they kind of feel like we live or die on their spending at our shop, and they feel like they can do extra shit that they wouldn't do at a Pep Boy or Advance Auto or whatever.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, man. So
one of the things too, man, on that is that I find a lot of people think they can just come to you directly. Like you don't go to Sam Walton because you had an issue at Walmart.
Right.
You know what I mean? But for us,
you
feel like you got to target me. I'm like, look, I tell a lot of people, dude, I have no problem hearing you out, but I have a proper channel for that. I have a proper email for hearing anything that I can assist you with.
Yeah.
Because guess what I did? I've set a team in place so that if I am with my daughter, picking her up from school or whatever, or I am at the dentist appointment, your concerns and your needs are not missed. I've got my team being my wife and vice versa. So we balance that, but she can't see my personal messages and I can't see her personal messages. So it's important for them to go through a mutual channel, which is the email, to do so.
Yeah. Nailed it, man. It is what it is. I'm pretty sure everybody in the independent game now, since MySpace not so much, nobody was really using MySpace for contact. When Facebook came about, guys instead of emailing, they feel like they feel like you're not going to check your email. I'm like, dude, it goes to my phone. Every email I get, it shows right up on my phone right here. I see it. I got 5 right now, and so I see it, and they feel like they got to hit you on Facebook. They got to get this across. Number one is Sunday night. It's Sunday night. I mean, even if the engine had catastrophic failure, I'm not opening up my shop at 12 o'clock at night on Sunday. We'll get to it, in the next course of business. So is this guy, the social media wise, great for us. A lot of guys kind of, it breaks down, man. So I'll get into mine, man, because, so we can move on a little bit. So, all right. So mine was my first favorite build was a difficult build. But it's difficulty, you grow and stuff and things like. I learned a lot of my rules that I have in place came from this car. It came from this car. So this was a 1992 VR4 GTO 3000 GT. So this is yeah.
Oh shit.
So this one was the This one was the black one, had the blue accents all over it. Yeah. So,
dude, that thing looks so good though when you finish it. Oh my god. Yeah. You got to put a photo up.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna mix all of them, yours and mine. I'm gonna mix the. So when we get done, I'll get engine and a body photo, just one, so we don't have to overcloud it and everything. So we'll throw them in there. But yeah, all right. So to break it down for the guys up there and to you how it started. The guy's the older guy. He was a these guys probably don't want their name out there because they got wives and stuff like that. So he's an older guy. He was an Air Force dude. He's retired Air Force now. And the thing about this build, it was a customer. He had these parts. He was mining these parts over 2 years. So he was collecting all these parts over 2 years. He was using 3SI, which guys out there know 3SI is like they're very, they pretty much make it army proof for you guys out there. You don't have to go. They bring everything to you. So they use the Kinugawa. They use different stuff. 3SI makes a few things themselves, as you know, and they kind of bring everything there. So I do like. There's some, and I don't, I'm not bashing the company, but there was a good amount of things I liked about how they're packaging, the labeling and things, but also there was some other stuff that and it's not a bashing thing, but it was just some stuff that I didn't like too much.
Was it 3SX?
3SX. Yeah, 3SX.
Yeah, I know them.
Yes,
I know
3SX.
them.
So the and what it comes down to was like the kind of the way they packaged everything was kind of looking like the customers thinking everything came from 3SX. I'm like, no. This is a Kinugawa kit. This is this kit. This turbo kit is from there. So they would take and put it out there, but I don't think they explained well to the customer that this is not 3SX parts. You know what I'm saying? So there's something so I mean, and that's what the only thing I had an issue with, and then some of the stuff was kind of some of the braiding lines were not the best quality, and I got with them on that, professionally and everything. But that being that, the customer with this customer when he bought, he had about 8 to 9 grand worth of parts, and he came to my shop and we did a bag drag. And which in the military guys do an inspection. So we laid everything on the floor, man. And I'm like, dude, after I got done, I wrote down, he was talking in my ear while I'm trying to concentrate. And about 3 or 4 of the parts cancel each other out. So he would have like these new mounts, and then he would have this other OEM mount. Like, well, you can't install at the same time. So which one you want to use, OEM or the aftermarket one? So I was, it was just, he was just buying, clicking and dragging. And some of the parts wouldn't, he had a boost controller. He had different things. Overall, man, the build, again, this is supposed to be my favorite build, but I'll get into it.
As a learning curve.
As a learning curve, man, like the build set in place what I do now. So he just, he bought the stuff, without guidance. And this is the one thing I offer the guys now is like, hey, man, if you buy the parts, it doesn't matter what you buy. If you buy the parts before I get to it, I'm gonna raise my labor fees because of that. That took me an hour to 2 hours to sort through all that shit before I can actually get started. And then even when I got started, like this didn't fit, this didn't line up. It was a and for 3000 GT guys, you gotta pull engine out, stuff like that. But just get into the build. Once I got to the build was actually good. I learned a lot about the GTO. That was my first GTO. The 6G72, correct, is the engine. Yeah,
6G72.
Yeah, 6G72. After you get, it's kind of like the rotary, man. After you get all the stuff off the engine, it's actually not bad to work on. Everybody makes it like they kind of treat like the VG. It's just when it's in there, the battery. Once you relocate the battery, get some stuff out of the way. It's not that hard of an engine to work on. The clutch jobs are not that hard. They're actually really easy because the bolts are right there.
Yep.
It's just the side, you got 4 mounts, so that's the only thing that gets hard about it. So again, learning wise, again, of course, the engine came out the bottom. There was no top on this, so it came out the bottom, dropped it out. Again, learned a lot in the course of it, and of course, getting to the end of the build, it went well, but at the same time, the build, he utilized the Tatrix cable with the Chrome ECU.
Chrome ECU,
and that. Guys, man, if you got guys, that is just that setup is it's not good, dude. I tried to like it. But it's just it's the tuning method. I'm tuning it. So if you get it set up and everything and it works, it's great. And I got it set up and it worked. But you have to have 2 different programs to run it. And you have to have one program to watch everything, one program to make the changes. So it wasn't real-time tuning. So you have to kind of rely on, if I want to make one change in this cell to make the AFRS down to 14.5, I have to read that first. I have to rememorize that, close the program out completely, open up the other program, EvoScan.
EvoScan, yep.
And then make the change. That was a nightmare. He had the wrong size injectors. It was a lot of stuff, man, that went wrong on this build. And again, you guys are like, man, that was your favorite build. Like, dude, I learned a lot in it, dude.
Right.
Overall,
that shows a lot about your mindset too.
Yeah, and it's like, once I got there, customer-wise, again, it was one of those things where I didn't state like I never had to say it before, but he had popped up one day, and I know your story about the guys popping in on you and everything. So he popped in he just knocked on the door. and I had the shutters down and everything. And he came in, and I was like, "Hey, what can I do for you?" My exact words. "Oh, I was just dropping in to see." I'm like, "Nah, dude. Since you're here, I'll let you see what I got doing right now. But this is it. Never come back like this again unless I call you in." And stuff like that, I learned to like put in a foresight, like, "Hey man, I don't need you to stop by. It'll be on Instagram. I'll send you a folder. I'll drop pictures in there when I get to it." And just setting up the course of action. So again, the build itself was a lot of gasket seals, clutch, and everything. But overall, the engine was good. I did the timings. Everything was good, but the ECU just really crippled the build. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of aftermarket support for that.
No,
other than the flying lead that Link got us set up going on. You got to wire everything in, but you got to go Link Heltech or off the rails with that stuff. So they don't really have a lot out there. That unfortunately, man, the car looks awesome outside. It looks awesome inside, but it's just I haven't talked to the guy in like 2 or 3 years, and willing to bet it's still sitting because Japanese do not like the 3000 GTs, man. They do not like working on them at all. He was turned away multiple times, and he came to me like as a last resort. And they just don't like him, man. But overall, the build. I completed everything that he paid for. There were some choice parts, and I'm not going to name the companies, but there were some choice parts used in the build that I will not use, especially on a build like that where I've done turbos with the engine in there before, so it can be done. It's not hard, but I just rather not. I'd rather not have to do that. I'd rather not have to swap turbos out after 300 kilometers or whatever because they're leaking oil. And it's like, hey man, you got to go with a better choice. They were cheaper, but at the same time, you got what you paid for. So, and again, in that build aspect, it's like not letting people bring crap in, because I did that build because at that time that was like my second year, and I was at a point where I couldn't turn it away. I needed the money.
Right, it was a large job.
Yeah, and he paid half the payment that paid for my whole month, that 1 month, then the other half paid for that. And I actually had to make him pay that up front because he kept changing things. And that was another thing, I don't allow changes during the build if I have other customers waiting, because what happened, I pushed all my other guys to the right and everything, and it just
right, yeah.
It kind of, so if you want to do changes or additional stuff, I can still do it, but at the same time we got to schedule it at a different point. And that's at that time. This time I got a little bit more, freedom. But the build overall, man, it took long, and it honestly, again, you guys are like, man, you saying this is your favorite build, but it seems like a fucking nightmare. It was one of those builds. The car came back for different stuff. Came back 3 times for different things. No warranty stuff, but it was one of those builds. I know you had them. It was one of those builds where I couldn't wait till that car left my garage, man. I was just like, bro, please come pick this shit up. And everything was good. He was happy with the car. Even though, the thing is, he knew that there were going to be issues. Like, he was like, yeah, I was expecting that because of this. So he was after we talked the first time, and but the third time, because the third time I was kind of really stern with him. After that, became a really good guy. But before that, he kind of assumed that I operated like he can just drop in and shoot the shit. I'm like, nah, dude. So it's just one of those things where any of you guys out there who are customers or businesses, for a customer, you got to do your part, man, and just like stand by. You can't be all in the dude's Kool-Aid and trying to see what the hell's going on, because I know you had a situation recently, man. If you want to, we'll probably bring it up later, but it's a point where the customer is going to get fired, man, and you can come pick up all your shit and everything, man. So yeah, man, that's it, man. So that's my number one, man. On that.
Yeah, man. Just some remarks on your number one. Yeah. First of all, don't anybody that loves those cars don't get discouraged on the awning one. I actually own 2. I got a 95 and a 92. The 92 has 52,000 miles on it, so I'm super familiar with those chassis. Yeah. But just like Donald said, man, they're the best way that I describe them to customers is they're temperamental. They're very temperamental chassis.
Very.
And my best advice I could give anybody is don't buy that car if you're not intending to enjoy the motor in a stock form. Don't buy that car strictly for modification. You should buy that car to do suspension work, to do some nice wheels, and a boost up. That's all you really need to do. Enjoy that car at 350 wheel horsepower, all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering, and it'll be amazing, fun cruiser / highway car. When you get into modifying the turbos and you get into modifying bolt-ons, that car will take it no problem. That motor, those actual internal motors can handle 700-800 horsepower easily. The problem is, like Donald said, is the tuning behind them. There's very limited options out there. AM makes a kit. We'll leave that where that stands. But but yeah, there's very limited options. So unless you're gonna go full send on a crazy aftermarket custom wiring harness, custom ECU kind of setup, buy those cars for cruising and having fun and boosting up. Those stock turbos will take 350 all day, and they're fun cars. But yeah, other than that, leave it the hell alone.
Yeah, and this is final note on that. The GTO and the VG, the Z30. Well, actually, the VG and the VQ, they're all kind of cramped in there. Like, you don't want to do shit twice in those engines, man.
No, yeah, you do everything when it's out.
And RB SR, even a JZ with a single turbo setup. Like, if something goes wrong, you can, or aftermarket stuff, you can swap stuff out. But even like the twin turbo RB26, everything is so like compacted up in there, man. Like if you miss one spot or miss one, like imagine if you put the turbo in and like you forget to tighten the oil line on the inside of the turbo. You're not gonna get to that, man.
No, it's all coming off.
It's all coming off, man. Just to tighten that one fitting in, and if you got the back one, you got to take the front one off, and you got it. So that's why you can't be rushing, guys. It's very meticulous stuff, and I'm like, I go over stuff 3 times. Like I know it's done. I go over it again. I check everything. I mark it. I torque it. I just put a wrench on it just to make sure, because I've actually made a mistake, and I was able to get to it. Luckily, I made a mistake and had the oil line. The banjo was it was on there. I was showing my assistant how to do the work, and he didn't. I was like, hey, tighten that down, and that was a mistake on my part that I didn't check my guy's work. And sure enough, man, it was seeping coolant, and I was able to get a wrench, luckily, up in there and tighten that thing down without taking it out, man. So that engine is something that you want to do one and done. So if you got a GTO and you could take it to a shop, get everything done, man, because you don't want to go in there and do like. You want to do seals, everything, because your seals, your knock sensors, all that stuff, because you just don't want to do it. You don't want to go back in it. Some shops out there they'll be like, hey, they won't mention it. And they know the knock sensors damn under the goddamn manifold. They won't mention it until after you get everything back together. Like, hey, man, your knock sensor, you got to take all that crap back off again to get down and take that damn galley off. You know all about it, and get down to that knock sensor, man. So you can relocate it, which is what I did for him, just for future maintenance and everything. I moved it to the front part so he can actually get to it. And it's not in the center and everything. So same thing for the VG. I put the VG knock sensor on the back of the engine instead of being under the center, man. So you could do things like that, man. But moving on, man. What's your number 2, man?
Number 2, I would say that a recent customer actually, that Panda A86 that I just finished. This actually a really good customer. He out of state as well. He actually he was in Alabama, and then he moved to South Carolina in the middle of the build, taking a promotion job. But so that job was an SR5 A86 hatch that he wanted completely converted to a GTS setup. So drivetrain, engine, rear end, suspension upgrades. So suspension wise, we did my custom coilovers, Touge Techniques. You can see those at tougetechniques.com. But as far as the engine, I did a full overhaul before I swapped it in. Cleaned it all up, rebuilt the T50 to make sure it's going to be solid form, new clutch, everything basically front bumper to bumper fresh when it comes to drivetrain, suspension. Obviously, I built a custom wiring harness to do that swap because there's no off the shelf to save time there. So had to convert that, had to convert the dash harness, had to convert the body loom as well, because on that setup, the SR5 alternator and starter points are on opposite sides.
Gotcha.
So But long story short, he was a great customer because he was first to admit, hey, I know very little, if anything, about modifying cars, but I just love the A86 chassis. I love watching Initial D when I was in college, kind of thing. And and so I like that because he passes the torch and say, hey, you're the expert at this. I just want this. This is what I want as my end result. And anything that came up where we said, hey man, I need to add on this part just because your throwout bearing is trash, or for example, hey, within 5 minutes he was already paid, sent to me. He paid his 50% up front. Never once complained, never once checked in and said, hey man, I need you to speed up, or I need you to slow down, or this is how much it's going to cost at the end, or when are you going to deliver it. He checked every single email. His response to the email was within 30 minutes. And that was great. And I honestly have to attribute that to him being a little more educated than the average customer. He's actually an engineer for Ryobi, so like the Ryobi tools.
Yeah.
And long story short, man, it just was smooth. So the funny thing is, it's like I was thinking about the other day. It's funny that I would probably hire an engineer to do something else, like to my house or something, but engineer is hiring me to do engineer work to his car.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how the pilots come to you and have you build their GTR. So that's kind of cool. So it's a time and place of hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
But no, man, he was just really down to earth. Usually my wife comes with me when I pick up a customer car, or if she can. We do everything together in the sense of that. So my wife even liked him, so I knew he had good energy and whatnot. And I took it to him, and he was just ecstatic, dude. This guy was glowing like a light bulb when I delivered the car last weekend. And he just loved it, man. Everything went well, and just was no issues, man. Smooth as butter. And obviously, if people that don't know my shop page, that don't follow my shop page, you should, is Touge Techniques on Instagram. But I do all types of JDM, everything from 70s all the way up to early 2000s. But A86s just seem to be a magnet for my shop, so I do quite a bit of those, and I own quite a bit of them. Obviously, it's a special place to work on an A86 because they're really fun cars. They're driver cars, and that's part of why it made the list.
Yeah. And on that, man, it's like that's definitely one of those things where I think every shop, some shops lean hard into it. Again, we always bring up MCR, Yamamiya. Of course, MCR is infamous for their GTRs, and then Top Secret is like pretty much GTRs. Yamamiya, of course, like you would never see a GTR there. I mean, I'm pretty sure they can work on them, but it's this rotary. That's all they do. So they lean hard into it, and like so like I think every shop out there. Every shop has like a strong suit, like a strong. If you had to select one, but we kind of like I think we run in the same way that we have the stuff that we're really good at, but all our customers don't drive 86s or 3000 GTs stuff like that, so we can kind of move. So I know you're the same way where you could be talking to a guy about a rotary in detail and it's flip to a 2J RB just like that
all day,
and they'd be like, and dude, it blows their. I do that. I did it yesterday to a guy, and it just blows their mind. I was talking about the intricacies of a 2J, the Aristo he picked up, and I was like, 2J this, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy had a rotary who picked him up and who dropped him off. He was like, I just got a fresh bill. I was like, well, you want to do this, you don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And the guy was like, dude, you were just talking about 2Js, and 0.5 seconds later, you're talking about side sills and this, and this. And I'm like, dude, he kept saying, he kept saying, and I kept correcting him. He's like, man, I did nothing but Nissan's RBs. I'm like, bro, it's nuts and bolts, right? It's bang, it's air sparking.
That's right.
It's all. He just did what I'm like, dude. It's the same thing, dude. If you work on RB and you like you're saying you are, I don't think you are, but if you work on an RB like you're saying you are, this Jay-Z is Fisher Price compared to the RB as far as like the engine, as far as the ease of doing a timing belt. You just put it on, pull a pin, and you're done. RB, you got to put it on, you got to tighten the thing, and everybody over tightens it every time, and that shit whines like a bitch because I've done it before. But but yeah, man, for the and kind of because for my own knowledge, because the state size I don't know about. So you say so the GTS to the Hachiroku conversion. Can you explain like what's the basics of that conversion when you do that?
From the SR5 to the GTS.
Yeah, sorry, SR5 to the GTS. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, you're moving away from a 4AC, which is a carbureted engine, to a fuel-injected engine. The 4AG obviously is fuel-injected. So with that being said, the tank fuel sending unit, you've got a fuel pump in the tank with a GTS versus a fuel pump under the hood, basically on the engine with the carbureted setup.
Right,
so your fuel systems are completely different, as well as your return fuel line sizes. So that's one thing. Number two, obviously with it being a carb, there's less electronic control as far as relays and things of that nature that's under the dash to pick up and control the 4AG. So most 4AGs have a system called T-Viz. Basically, it's butterfly traps behind the intake manifold, and they're electronically controlled to help airflow to build a little bit of low-end torque. And so a lot of those electronics and stuff are built into the harness. So basically what you've got to do is you've got to change the under dash harness, and you've got to modify the engine bay harness, as well as modify the body loom harness. When I say body loom harness, though, it basically runs from the driver kick panel up to the lights, across the lights, and back to the passenger kick panel. And so basically what that powers your chassis plugs, such as your lights, your your alternator charge, your battery, and things of that nature that's fixated to the chassis. So once you modify all those, and you modify the fueling, and obviously you swap all your air filter and your MAF and all that stuff over, it'll actually run fine. Because the cool thing is the mounting points are the exact same. So you don't have to change like your engine mounts, your transmission mount, any of that stuff. That swap is 90% wiring and 5%, 80% wiring, 10% fuel lines, and the other 10% is just setting everything up to work cohesively.
Got you. So that damn educated, man. Like I didn't know it was that much involved. Like I said, I never.
It's a bitch.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
Full disclosure. It took me about 5 months to do that car.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because it's a third. People forget. People, when they think about Hachiroku, they think, it's 25 years. No, that car is 35 years old, man. 35 years old.
Yeah. So I guarantee you, bolt snapping, clips rusted, like.
Yes, dude, all over the place. If you're lucky enough to get like a clean Southern dry state chassis, you'll be all right. But there is less than 10% of those out there. You know what I mean? And so all the consumables on the car, go cohesively to that age. So I can't give a customer back a car that runs great but doesn't stop worth shit. Or it rattles and shakes. And then, of course, I built custom coilovers for his car, so I got to go test those and dial them in. I never give a car back that I do suspension work without testing, driving it, making sure that it handles perfectly. It's not, and it fits their driving method. If it's a strictly track car, then that's different. But if it's going to be street driven, I drive it on the track. I drive it on the street and I drive it up the mountains. I actually live in the mountains, and that's one of the reasons that I live here, so that I can test those cars in my own personal cars without doing, driving an hour or 2 hours written track day. I can actually go test a car and up a mountain and back down within 30 minutes, which is pretty awesome.
Same, dude. We think so much alike, man. My shop here, same thing. Like I do a lot of the suspensions. I do it's not a day job. So I do the suspension install, and normally I come in about 3-4 in the morning, and when there's no traffic out, and car's legal. But I have right down the road. Like, you haven't been to my new shop yet, but it's actually the same location. So and we didn't get a chance to show you like my little spots where I go. I got like courses that go in between the farmlands, and I go in between there and do my thing. No fucking crazy drifting or anything like that, but just enough to go left and right, up and down, undulations that the customer's going to feel. And that's where a lot of guys, when I mean, case in point, on disclosure, at a base, I charge roughly $69,980, which is like roughly $690 for suspension install and settings. And people are like, dude, you're just putting them on there. I'm like, nah, that's just putting them on there is step one. And step two,
right.
then also I offer a 6 month warranty on the work as always. And then what I offer in a price is 2 weeks after it's done to come back, because you know it and I know the shit's gonna settle. And a lot of people
right.
A lot of people don't understand that, man. They don't understand that.
No.
They don't understand that it's gonna go down. So I see guys come in there all the time when I inspect their cars. Like, you put these on there, and they be like, yeah, we put them on. Like, dude, this is all unbalanced. It doesn't feel good, and I I don't want to be a dick to them, but I'm like, bro, you got the dampers all the way turned up, or you didn't even touch them. So the dampers at 15, 12, 10, 8, and the car's just feeling all types of bad, man. So it's one of those things
right.
where guys message him like, nah, you can't pick my brain. You can go on YouTube and hope you get lucky there. But the knowledge I gathered and the same knowledge you have to dial these cars in, man. Guys don't realize what they're spending for, man, and it's like, hey, man, I can get you the coils, get a warranty, because they don't warranty shit installed in the backyard. That's how it works.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So
yep, and there's the tangible part, like you said, of buying the coilover set, but the intangible part, properly setting them up. When you understand, anytime you take suspension off a car, you especially changing the height, guess what you did to your alignment? You just put it in the gutter. Your alignment's gone.
Yep.
So our experience, I know you're the same way. We can put alignment on the car with no fucking alignment rack.
Yep.
Yeah, because we have done it so many times.
Yeah.
But you do it yourself, and you man, this thing feels unbalanced, or you brake and the front stiff and the ass hops up. Yeah, because you don't have your stuff set up, right? So you got to dial in the dampening system. You got to let the coilovers, like you said, break in and settle. And also, I even take in a consideration, is the driver lighter than me or they heavier than me? Because I counterbalance their weight to how the car will handle.
Yep. Battery relocations, all that stuff, man. One thing I do, I have my guys come in with a 4 tank of gas, 4 tank of fuel.
Yeah.
Because if you like I said, we all balance it up on an empty tank, and then guess what? When you put that full tank in there at 35 liters of fuel, that shit's gonna go it's gonna go down. So it's like, stuff like that, man. I'm very, again, some guys like, hey, man, I'm like, dude, clean all your shit out the car. I don't want nothing in the car. No bags, because, military guys got these big, it's called Kim bag, with their helmet and their flak vest and all this crap. That thing weighs about 60 pounds. So you got a 60-pound bag sitting in the back left of your trunk, and then you take that out, and now all of a sudden my work is all undone. So I have those guys clean everything out right there on the spot, because they almost forget every time. So like, hey, man, I'll give you a trash bag here. Take everything out the car. Make sure you come with a full tank. If they don't, I make them pay for it, because I just, little shit like that. Again, that GTO, I learned a lot of stuff, how to proceed and everything, man. So, all right, I'll get on anything more to say about that one? You good to go on that one? Yeah, 8.6.
No, I'm good.
All right, cool.
Let's hear yours.
All right, cool. So we're doing. It's moving along. This is good because it's 48 minutes in, and it's like the same. We just chopped it up regularly, so it's moving along pretty good, man. And guys are there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Once they see like the media mixed in, it'll be cooler. All right, so my second one is I had a black R33 1996. The R33 V-Spec 2. Yeah, V-Spec 2. So this was R33. The reason why this one is significant right out the bat was my first customer single turbo conversion. This is my first customer car to break 500 horsepower. And again, the customer was amazing. Still in contact with him today. Ray Hernandez is good to go. He don't mind if I ever say his name. So still in contact. Even to the point where he had some stuff. Little further issues after the car sat for about a year and a half. Just like he activated it in like couplers and stuff. Cars sit and things deteriorate, and the coupler that I got from the company happened to be defective and everything. So I hooked them up with some coupler stuff and things like that. The reason why, again, it was a good build, because also I was an engine out job. I did this. I did the what happened, and I did the Nismo was a Nismo. Yeah, I did the Nismo oil pan kit. The oil. Goddamn, man, I'm going blank, man. There's a kit for the oil pan where pretty much it keeps the oil in there. So it's like a baffle kit, oil baffle kit.
Okay. Yeah,
I did the brand new Newsome copper mix clutch, full turbo single turbo conversion, all the water lines, the downpipe. One thing for every turbo I ever had, I've always made every downpipe. So that's just one of the things I do. I'm looking at making a kit for this if it goes how I want it to go. So I did the downpipe, did all the stuff there, did all of the oil cooler. All the cooling mods. He had an R33 ECR, not ECR 33. It was a GTR 33 RB26. So he already had the extended crank snout. The compression was good, which we did this 2 months prior to the work. So before I even started working on it, I knew the condition of the engine. We did the power C upgrade. We did injectors. We did a fuel system. Pretty much everything that was timing belt, everything. Man, I did the full works, full refresh, full. All the seals, front and rear, everything. I did everything on the engine except for pistons, head gasket, and rods and bearings. So I did everything on the engine, man. And so that was like at the time that was my first. No, it wasn't. No, yeah, it was. This is my first RB26 N that I did, and I got an honorable mention at the end of everything because I just thought about one build. It can't go on my favorites because it came to me like kind of already in progress, and I'll talk about that one later. And I'll do the same for you. I'm pretty sure you got an honorable mention build. So this one again, single turbo was the first one, and the reason why it was just one of my favorites because it was one of my first. It was one of my first GTR like long haul builds, and again, the customer was great. Never bothered me. Never dropped in. Never did anything. Never did anything out of the blue that was like. Made me angry. He was always a good guy to this day, man. So again, that's going back to some, and it's not that some people they're not bad customers. It's just some guys they have they can do it in their mind, but I guess they want to have somebody to blame if it goes wrong, and that's where we get some of the customers too, where they just I can do this and I can do that and I can do that. But I'm like, all right, dude, but your car is here and I'm doing everything. I mean, if you could do it, I've done engine swaps in the back alley with snow pouring on my head. So there's no excuse there,
right?
Man. So that's a cop out, man. So, but yeah, that's my second one.
It
man.
is.
Yeah. So
it's funny about you saying I'm gonna get on the bill too, but just piggybacking what you said about I could do it, but I had somebody call me 2 weeks ago. I was telling my wife about it. He's like, hey, I want you to 86. He basically want the differential rebuilt, new axles. He's already got some seals and some parts, blah, blah, blah. We were talking. I said, yeah, man, it's not a problem. My official process is that you email me and I can set you up a reservation. But what I do is since you bringing parts to me, I've got to analyze those parts and also analyze your car before I can give you a quote. He said, oh, that's not a problem. I could do it myself. And I said, well, why don't you do it yourself? He paused. No, I literally, God, my witness, bro. I said that. And he paused. I said, if you could do it yourself, wouldn't you do it yourself? He was like, yeah. I said, well, then you can't do it yourself. And I wasn't trying to be an asshole, but I was making it clear that you're not going to come to my shop and try to oversee on something you, in theory can do, but can't really do. Yeah. So let's establish that first. You think he sent me an email? Hell no, he didn't send me an email. But I had to filter him.
Yeah.
And you got to be honest with yourself. I know I can't build a rocket ship, so I'm not going to call NASA and be like, well, I could build it myself, but I want you to, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, it's like you got a rocket ship. That shit can run a Helltech, right? 2,500. it's like no, we need like 50 Miltechs on it.
Was that the R33 you built? Was that the one that you almost had like twins of?
Yeah,
was that one of those?
Yeah, the one is outside right now. His was a 97, and the other one was a 96. So the 96 is already gone. Yeah, but they're both identical. The only difference in the builds was they're pretty much identical. Only thing was the first one he did the full SART fuel rail with the the AN fittings and all that stuff. The other one did same Tomei fuel pressure regulator with gauge, but he used the stock rail, which the stock GTR rail it can support a good amount of power, And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
what do you do? He's like, I'm like, well, you don't need to do that. The other guy was looking to go a little bit more higher, so I was like, yeah, you need the rail and everything. And also he's set up for more. He's set up to run safely about 650, but I was telling him too, like he has a stock head gasket, so you gotta be careful in that. So you
Right.
can set it to about 18 psi with this turbo. This is GT3582R ball bearing. I wanted him to get it through me, but he went and got it through another contact. But whatever, got it in because we had and this is like with that build too. Again, this is why this customer is great. One thing I just remembered, I got him a turbo from a source, and the source said, I kind of take people how they come, and the guy was like, yeah, we take the turbos, we take them apart, we do all this stuff, and come to find out he didn't do none of that stuff. So the guy went through two turbos, man. So the turbo it started having like a little bit of chatter. So the guy sent me another one, and the other one fucking blew like on a test drive. So that was about $500 that I would charge a guy, because it was outside of the warranty. I was like, I'll swap it, and he again cool. He didn't make any fuss about it, and I was like, I'll swap it for you. And we went on a test drive with no boost. I'm like, dude, you don't owe me nothing, man. Just leave this. And he needed a car, so he just drove it with no boost for a little bit. And then I was like, dude, we got to get another. So then he got with Garrett. I'm like, dude, and that was the end of that. So I told I had two other customers with these turbos. I was like, dude, and actually one is outside, and it's still on there, and he's going to upgrade to the Garrett. And his turbo was no problem. I was like, hey man, this is what I did. I'm like, I could have not said nothing. I was like, hey man, I got another R33, same turbo you have, issues. This is what happened,
Right.
blah blah blah. And he's like, all right, cool man, thanks for the thing. I'll look into it. My other guy was the Red R34 with the my shop assistant. He had the same turbo, and I don't deal with this guy anymore, man, because after 3 strikes, I'm like, dude, we're done. Like you obviously lied to me, and so I'm like, and that's where those things where people like they want to get the low grade turbos and send it as they would say. I'm like, dude, yeah, they're all made roughly in the same factory, probably right next door. But the thing about the Garrett turbos and the other ones and the Trust and all, the QA is up there, so they're actually checking these turbos, and that's the only difference between, because they're the same housing, same everything. Is this one is QA'd and one is not.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of insight on the Garretts, I've been a Garrett dealer for almost 7 years now, and so their turbos are one of few. They used to be actually USA made, but now they're made in Mexico. So they're shipped out of Mexico, and basically the reason a lot of the Chinese turbos are very similar, what they do is they'll buy every size set of a Garrett turbo, and they'll break it down. They'll scan it, 3D scan it, and then they'll put it in production. That's why they're so damn similar. But they're actually, now I can't speak on other turbos, but Garrett turbos are actually made in Mexico, and then they're copied in China. But the QC, man, like you said, is the biggest difference. The quality check, the pre-testing, and the type of materials that they use with the ball bearings and the Nikon and all that stuff makes a world of difference.
And even like some of the stuff in there, like they make it's kind of a pain to some guys, man. But some things like they got proprietary fittings, like you can't put a 12-point socket on there and break it loose. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta, I'm talking about the one that has a little. It's like it's rubbed off in the back one. That you can't, unless you take that thing out and make a mold. That's a lot of damn waste of time, man, just to take something apart that is just not really meant. And I tell dudes, I'm pretty sure you get it a lot too, man. Like, yeah, I can rebuild a turbo, but I can't balance it. And I'm like, I won't touch it for that. And he used to go sent out to a turbo shop. One guy I use is a guy named Tim Turbo in VA. He has a full up turbo, and he's a home business guy. He has the tanks. He has everything you need to balance custom stuff and everything. And then like you got a lot of there's one shop in Texas that can do them. But anybody out there looking to rebuild a turbo, I mean, dude, if you ain't got a balancer and you know what the fuck you're doing, take that shit to somebody that can rebuild it. Because a lot of times those parts are not out there, and like it's just one of those things, man, where it's not good. It's not, you can't mark it and then turn that nut back to the same. It don't work that way, man. So turbo's a little bit different, man. I've wasted time with some, and now it's just like it's straight up Garrett trust. It's the ones that've been in the game for a long time. I will use other companies for other things, but it's just certain things like turbos that spin at 11 billion RPMs. You want to make sure that shit's good to go, man.
That's exactly right. Yep, that's what I was gonna say. Most people think about RPMs like your car, like let's just say 9,000 RPMs, but a turbo spins at about 15 psi. Turbo spins 30,000 RPMs.
Yeah.
The compressor wheel and turbine wheel at simultaneously 30,000 RPM.
Yeah.
So I would say there's very little room for error.
Yeah, just stick your finger in there and shit. Like, and on that too, man. It's like, that's one thing, man. I really appreciate, because we're our buddies, man. But like when we order the turbos, man, your information is like impeccable, man. Because some guys like, I got this turbo, blah blah blah, with housing, and they'll send it, right. They don't break down like the things like this turbo has an internal filter, so don't add one to it. So guys, you'll take that, and that's where it doesn't matter Greddy, HKS or not. If you install a part improperly, you will break it, dude. And not talking to you, talking to the listeners. You can have a brand new Garrett, and Garrett will say internal filter or not. If it doesn't, you got to add your own .038 whatever orifices or whatever you're running. So if you're running a -4, -3, different things like that. That's you guys. The Garrett site is also awesome, and you can learn pretty much everything you need to learn about turbos right from that site. So it's not an excuse why you shouldn't know this stuff. But when you buy the Garrett turbo from a guy, you don't get it installed professionally, and it breaks, they're not going to honor anything, because number one, it wasn't installed professionally, and number two, you didn't follow instructions. So you put a restrictor on the restrictor. Now you done
you choked the hell out of it.
Now you done cooked it, or you got
that chicken.
Yeah, or you got too much fuel going into that CHRA. Now you done blew the seals out. So
that's right.
I see it happen a lot, man. And then like guys want to get in my inbox, and yours too, and want to pick your brain. I'm like, nah, dude, we know what to do and what not to do. And and I blew some turbos up by adding too much oil, and I didn't know early in the day. And I didn't know I needed a restrictor. I'm going to Philly with a turbo, and the oil is just flowing out of the damn turbo so much I had to pull over. Like it was bad, dude. It was real bad.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And a lot of guys mess up on pre-lube. They'll crank the engine up with the fresh turbo on there, and the damn line doesn't have any fucking oil in it, and then you burn up the turbo within 30 seconds. You probably won't hear it until 5 minutes, but 30 seconds of running dry will kill a turbo. So. Yeah.
And they come with man. It was all good, man. So what's your that was my number 2, and so what's your third one?
So number 3 is a good customer, gentleman named Avery Miles. He's a solid dude. His car actually is super rare. It's a 1990 Nismo GTR R32, BNR R32. So they only made, I think, actually, excuse me, 89.
I remember that one.
Technically, it's an 89. Yeah, they only make 500 of those. So
damn,
for him to actually,
How much you pay for that?
He paid 30, I think 32, but this was back. He's had the car probably 5-6 years, so he paid like 32 for it back before they jumped up. Right, he paid that right before they turned legal.
Got you.
So he got in before they were legal, so that helped him save a little bit. But obviously, with it being a super rare car, he wanted to add more power, and the only thing he had to it was some kooky version or later version into real like Nismo into JGTC turbos. So super badass turbos. That's it, man. I got to check them, make sure they're good to spec, all that stuff. So he brung them to me. I checked them all out. I mean, they probably had 3,000 miles on them, if that, and they definitely weren't racing miles. They were low use miles. So long story short, it started out as a turbo upgrade. But I was like, dude, if we do a turbo upgrade, we got to do everything. You can't just slap turbos in there and expect the car to be faster without supporting mods. So ended up doing, we went everything like legitimate Omori factory Nismo. Like, so we did Nismo injectors, the dual drop-in Nismo fuel pumps. We did, obviously, all the Nismo stainless lines that go to that kit for the turbo. I had to order those. Obviously all fresh gaskets. And so, one of the main things about the RB26, especially in the R32s, is that black intake manifold, and the valve covers always start to flake. So, and you know how pain in the ass it is to take that intake manifold out with the it's in the car. So
I charge $780 for that.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to pull all the valve. I pulled the valve covers, the center cover. I pulled the intake manifold, everything, and basically I took those and I had them professionally powder coated back to the original black, like that semi-gloss black, and put that all back together. And then we ended up. I was like, man, if you really want to get a little bit more power, we need a modern ECU to back all this up. So we did a Haltech 1500 plug and play from obviously Haltech, and so I tuned that myself, which was fun. And then I took it and got it dyno tuned so we could see what the numbers are made. End up making like 430 horsepower, all-wheel drive. I've actually got a dyno video of that one.
Nice.
That I'll send you too. But beautiful car. Customer was impeccable. Never once aggravated me about the car. Trusted me completely with his baby, literally. This car is so special to him. Like, he rents a separate building from his house to store it in that's locked and secured so it won't get stolen. He don't keep it at his regular house because he don't have an enclosed garage there, or he didn't used to. He has now. And then I knew I did a really great job because then he came back and he had me build a 4AGZE, like original supercharged AW11. So anytime a customer comes back that says, hey man, you did a pretty damn good job. So yeah, and so a good breakdown on that whole car. I actually documented from beginning to finish on my website, tougetechniques.com. You can click the blog on my website and you can see me like do that car front to back. But literally, like on the other one you said, I did everything on it except for pistons and rods, Yeah. So
yeah, and but the
definitely fun, Bill.
Yeah, the thing about that too is like I know you do the same thing, man, because we talk about it all the time. Is like every one thing is guys like, hey man, about how much I hate that word because there's every car out there, every single fucking car out there is different, man. Every one of them. There's you can have 533s in a row and they all got maybe the ground for the fuel pump is a little bit off, or they're all different. So people try to
wear and tear, bro.
They all try to lay. You can't lay tunes on it. You can't go for. That's why I got away from forums. I grew away from forums because everybody would kind of do the cookie cutter stuff. I'm like that doesn't work for everybody, man. So the yeah, man, it's one of those things, man, where again you talk to the customer and hey man, what do you do? How do you drive? Blah blah blah. Like, all right, well, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna do Tsukuba once a month, once a weekend, every month, because that's about the frequency you can do it. You can do it twice, but it gets spendy at Tsukuba. But if you're gonna do Tsukuba for those 3 15-minute sessions, that's just if you're really getting it. If you're really getting it, that's demanding. So if you're gonna do that, then we need to do this. If you're not gonna go to the track, you're gonna go to the track once a year, we can do this. If you're talking about door to door pro-am stuff, then we got to do this. And you shouldn't be driving it on the street, to be honest, because So like every customer is different, and that's why guys don't understand. And we filter them out like, hey man, there's no about price because we got to get what you're gonna do. One thing I do, and it's not an option. It's gonna happen either before the build or it's gonna happen when you drop it off. And if it's bad, you're gonna pick up your car. So I do a pre-inspection of every car, and it's factored in. So if you don't pay me before, I do a general and I do a performance. So performance is required for anything that's gonna go any boost stuff like that. So we're doing compression. I'm doing cylinder scopes. I'm doing fuel samples, all that stuff. And if it fails before I tune it, I'm not tuning nothing. And so I got a customer right now that we're going to get into the turbo I just bought from you for the S14. So he did a build somewhere else. Come to find out, and I when he checked the car and I was busy. I checked it in. I parked it. Come to find out that one was an SR20D converted turbo. So I was asking stuff. I was asking stuff about the car. It's turbo now, and now as soon as I seen that D on, I'm like, dude, did you guys do this? And he really couldn't answer my question. So I'm like, man, I hope I don't check this compression and the shit's like NA compression, because we got
Right.
we're gonna have
200 psi.
Because then now it's gonna get into, now I have to check. Now you got to pay me, or we just cancel the job and you got the parts and do it later, because now we got to pull that head off. We got to, pistons might need to be changed, head gasket, you can kind of, make it a little bit thicker, but then that changes the, how that works, now, the people out there don't know, when you mill things like that, changes the height. So now if you mill it too much, then your timing belt is not as tight as it normally would be under normal specs. So when you add a thicker head gasket, now you're stretching, how that works, man. You're stretching things out.
Yeah, then you can get, sometimes you can get a little bit of air flow and valve flow if you change that too much.
Yeah, so that's stuff that we know as a shop, we can't really. We're not teachers. We're not UTI. That's not what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We know what to look for though.
Yeah. So and you can tell those ones when you could tell a car when you start it up and you can hear the start. You could just hear that compression don't sound good. Like it has that faint. Because I know, because I've done it.
It's funny that you say that. I got a story on that.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Actually, no, go ahead and say it, man, before I forget it, man.
No, I worked on so many 4AGs that it could crank it up, and I could say, "Oh, it's got shit compression cylinder 3," because I can hear it.
Yeah,
I can hear it, and then I can't. Yeah, or I can do that with 4AGs, and I can do that with rotaries, but I can't do it with any other engines. But those, I've done them so many, you can literally, like you said, you can hear the compression difference.
I can do it with RBs all day, man.
Yeah, because you've done so many of them. Yeah,
and the reason I know, because the first one I try back in the day, I tried to convert it NA. I've done it since then. I've done it successfully, but my very first one, it was bad. I didn't know I didn't know. Well, the heads are like the same, but there's differences like in like the what is it? I'll just say it. When you turn it over and do the volume measurement, the chamber clearance is different a little bit for the NA for certain models.
Which engine you talking about?
This was a RB25 NA.
D.
Yeah, D.
Okay.
And then I took, and because the compression, the piston, everything is a little bit different. And I had a turbo head, because the head from the something was wrong with it, and I swapped the heads. So initially when I started up, I'm like, dude, that don't sound like it. Just sound weak. It just sounded off, man. I didn't back then. I didn't know where the machine shop was here, so I did what everybody else did. I took a goddamn straight edge, I measured it, then I just like kept pushing it until it was like nothing there, and then it was just bad. It was just bad, man. And put it together. First crank, it made a really, really weak sound. Like I'm like, this shit. Sure enough, 10 minutes at the track, bearings. It was bad, dude. It was bad, because it was also an all-wheel drive one, and I tried to put I tried to put the regular steel pan on it, but the fuel pickup would hit the pan, so I actually shaved the goddamn the oil pickup so much that there was actually like a little hole, and I knew this was bad, dude. This was about 12 years ago. I knew it was bad because
fucking with it.
Yeah, when I put the pickup on, I had to actually also, on that thin metal pan, I had to grind that to make a clearance so I could put the pan on. So it was just so that pickup sucked up a bunch of air. 10 minutes at MSP, bearings.
That's
gone.
a wrap.
Gone.
Yep.
10 minutes.
That oil pump choke. That's it.
10 minutes, dude. 10 minutes is all that thing lasted, and I spent goddamn a week on it. And that's where this was way before my shop. I would never do stuff like that now, and this was more like personal, just trying to learn stuff and everything. And I was just honestly, I didn't open up an engine until I got here. As far as building, in the States, I had the KAs. I didn't have the money, so I would just blow a KA, I get another one until I got about on my 5th KA, and I learned how to not blow it up.
Yeah, that's the point of a KA. You don't have to open. You just slap on a bolt-on kit and roll. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of doing the KAT is a budget build.
But I want with that, I want to do. I never did a KA properly. I learned how to do them, so I'm gonna get with you to get one sent over here, or maybe a couple of them, and build them up, because now with the skills I have now, I definitely can make a real good KA, man, and everything. And I'm a KT guy out there for the guys who don't know, man. So all right, that was your. So that was
Yeah.
your. You did 3, right?
Yeah, that was 3.
All right. So that was, all right. So my third one is the R34. Is the R34 GTR V Spec. Naturally, I mean, this was on the list because it was my first R34 GTR build. I did on this car before I did the timing, and that's how the customer got acquainted. So the timing was spot on. Day and a half labor turnaround. He was blown away as far as my time because he, when you say you can do it in a day, they're like, all right, yeah, okay, cool, man. And I'm like, hey, man, your car's ready. And he's like, oh shit, you weren't joking.
Right.
So the way this guy started, we talked over so the guys could get how it knows. We talked over about maybe 2 months. I ordered all the parts. I was like, dude, I did every R34 full build M1 block, fully forged, high dollar, man, high dollar. It was my last publicity build. It was my last build that I cut money off of because I wanted to get it out there. So I told the guy purposely, hey, man, I'm cutting you a deal on this. Don't discuss the price. I don't know if he did or not. But everybody else who gets this same build are going to pay $5 to $6K more than what you paid. Whatever his numbers was and everything. The build was up there. It's a little overbuilt for what he does because he doesn't race at all. So it's fortified to do about 12 to 1300 horsepower internally. Now the bolt on stuff is not really, it's not the cams
Right.
are,
Yeah, that's internal capability.
yeah. So the cams are they were 260 something. They were just dropping cams, still measured because there's no that dropping shit. They'll have you in the hospital, man. Your car in the hospital because you don't snap the camshaft. So that dropping thing.
Yeah.
There, you got to check your clearances, guys. Are there just gee whiz? So there's no. I don't believe in the dropping term. I've never really. I've had a dropping job go bad, and I pulled the cams out within the first 10 minutes, and I was like, dude, can't run these. And he didn't have the money and the time to do. I had to take the engine essentially back out to pull the head and do all the stuff I had to do. And
Right.
and that would require the head gasket. The pistons can, of course, be in the engine when you're doing a milling. So you know how it is, man. We got to do it all or none, man. So
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, this guy, man, we did full bore everything. I mean, the parts list. It was a goddamn Excel sheet, like up and down. It was a very extensive build. He decided to go with the M1 block because he wanted it was his choice. The M1 block is a little bit more denser than a stock block. And then I got the stock block back, so I have the stock R34, which is actually going to go into my S13. It's just a placeholder until my Barry gets here. So I got the so I'm pretty sure you benefit from customers the same way where they be like, hey man, we don't do with the old parts. Like I'll knock off $200 here or blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, all the time,
so,
man. That's how that's how I build my stash. I'm like, look, you want to save 3 hours labor?
Yeah.
Then this stays, and if you want to take it with you, cool. But if you want to save 3 hours labor,
yeah,
boom. And they always want to save the money.
Yeah.
So
I got 6 RB26s. Like wait, that Tomei one, that quote, not a Tomei build, by the way. It's not a Tomei build. So I'm gonna break into that one.
Yeah,
but
I
actually
remember
it's not I want to say one of the valves is bent, but everything is still usable. So anyway, for that stuff, man, I got the block out of that, so it'll help me get my other stuff done. It was just in short. With this one is very short and sweet. It was just simply one of my favorite ones because the length of it and the length of the job. It was done in less than a month. Everything from he dropped the car off. He was the only one scheduled. He dropped the car off the first day, engine out. Very first day, engine out the car. Next day, engine fully broken down, everything on the table, all pictures, all the measurements, clearances. The third day, the engine, the block and the head is at the machine shop. 3 days. That's 3 days from dropping off to getting everything done. And the only way I could do that is because I have everything scheduled. Now, honestly, I'm getting a little bit busy now, so I can make those times, but now I got to do emails and I can delete. You know how it is, man. You can ignore it for 3 to 4 days.
Oh yeah.
And then they're gonna go somewhere else. So I do kind of got to back away. And I tell guys, hey man, I'm gonna go get your shit done, but your car's the only car I'm working on. But at the same time, your car's not the only business I have. So I gotta make that very clear to people because they think like your car is the only. Nah, dude. I gotta go to meetings. I gotta do this. I gotta eat lunch. You know what I mean? Shit
right.
Like that.
It's a good way to explain it is you ever been to the doctor's office? Well, guess what? That doctor, you sit in that room, right? And then the doctor come into your room and then he leaves. He talked to you for 5 minutes and go into another room. Then he circles back with Yeah, he
Yeah,
circle back with his results and talk
yeah,
about your results.
yeah,
But he don't come in and say, "Oh, it's Donald's day." You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Nah, nah, nah.
It's the same thing, man. We
Yeah.
doctors around here.
Yeah, I learned too, because same thing, man. We and I think all people like us, man. You always want to put the best foot forward and make them want to come back, right? So like the
That's right.
one thing I would do, I kind of tail down because I'll do that. I give them a link, but I found out that was making the one guy with the R34. He kind of was checking it, like, hey man, I was just checking the thing, and I noticed you didn't put no pictures in there today. I was like, dude,
Wow.
let me re-explain this. This is not the way you can court me and check me and stuff like this. This is just going to be where the stuff's
Right.
going to go. So now I don't actually give that link until the end of the job, because I don't want the guy clicking on that shit, and checking in and stuff.
Trying to
So,
clock you and shit.
yeah. So
Yeah.
between it, I don't know if the customer watches my thing. I'm pretty sure he knows he's the only one that came with R34. It was just a lot of things where, like, I didn't feel I had to say everything, and then it was kind of one of those things where you relax, and then when you don't put all your terms out there, people they just assume. So I was like, hey, like, one thing, like, you're not gonna drop in, and that kind of changed the mood a little bit, because he was kind of the way he talked when he dropped the car off. He's like, hey man, I'm doing this video, and I kind of I'm like, nah, no, you're not, it's not gonna happen, man. So he wanted to do like a chronicle, and so he did a video when he dropped the car off, and that was it. And he didn't do when he picked it up. So he just, and also in that one, I made a very, very, because the bill was good. What I did, the work was good, but it was just a thing where, and I'll put it out there, man. If you're watching, that's cool. And I told him this. I'm like, customers just don't they don't know how to relinquish control. Like you said, the guy who said he can do it, but why you didn't do it? So it's like it's not that you're a bad customer, but you're making a situation that you're making a situation out of something that shouldn't be. And it was just one of those things again where I learned. I even though this was 4 years removed from the GTO, where I learned a lot. This one, I did something that I didn't do, because again, the guy was getting to me a little bit, and I just wanted to kind of end it good. I let him take that car with all that shit I did, all that work I did. I let him take that car with no test drive, man. I test drove it. I took it to the track and did everything, but I mean, if I'm doing your brakes, we're doing a side-by-side test drive down the road and back. And that's the way I always do it. But it was just, he was just like, he showed up and his energy was like, everything was good. But it was like when it came time to like the final payment, and I'm pretty sure you probably had that too, when the customers, their mood, they get like their buyer's remorse. And they kind of,
no, they know that to try that with me.
Yeah. So I've had it happen 3 times, and maybe because I'm dealing with military guys who are
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude. So I'm like, everything was good and casual, and then right at the end, you change, like you're questioning everything. I'm like, well, you either pay me or I keep this motherfucker. So
that's it.
Yeah,
It's
so,
clean and cut.
Yeah. So you can't get into my lot. You're not gonna beat me up. And then I'll go to your commander and tell him that you're not paying me. So, it's just things where that car, and the thing, and dude, 10 minutes after he left, hey man, this and this and this. I'm like, dude, you got an Ogura twin plate clutch. It makes noise. It's going to make noise. So that was one of those things where I was like, man, I don't give, like, if you ain't got time to test drive with me, come back the next day. If you ain't got time the next day, come back the next day. So I let my emotions because I was for the amount of work I did and how intricate I was, and you always know you put more into it than you honestly get back to
That's right.
It works out that way. And I'm like, dude, I went above and beyond for this guy, and like, this is the mood should be like your Hachiroku guy. That's how it should have been.
Yep.
And I'm like, I didn't get thanked once for the engine job. Like, that's you're complaining about plastic shit like that I told you I had to cut. And we already talked about this in another podcast, man. But it was like, this is where, it was for me, the build was cool because it was the R34 GTR. It was the first one. But at the same time, it's kind of going back to the GTO where it wasn't. I think I'm confusing people out there, man. It was number one to me for the length of the job, honestly, the pay of the job, and what I did.
And the complexity of it.
Yeah, the complexity of it, and everything went great. Everything went. Anytime you build an engine, man, and it works for years and years, that's a good feeling. When the guy ain't calling you back like, hey man, blah, 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 that's a good feeling, man, because it can go bad. But it was kind of soured a little bit by the way the guy was. And again, we talk here and there. It's just that's his personality, And my personality, mine is I'm not passive. Whatever you're saying, I'm hitting head on. And then he kind of like would back down. So we kept doing this. I'm like, look, man, we got to stop doing this shit. You obviously ain't mad with me because you keep coming back to do work here. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you gotta relinquish control. And that's and the reason why I brought this up too, because I want to make a message out there, guys. If you're going to a shop, like just take your car to the shop. Be vigilant. When you go there and you go to the shop and there's shit all over the place. I know your shop's not like that. When you go there and you got cars where it's 10 millimeters all on the damn dashboard and everything is just spread out. You can see right away that your car is probably gonna look just like that when you leave. So when you come to my shop, there ain't no tools in the window. Shit got covers on it. It got Lexan on the stuff. Is and the floor is clean. There's no oil. There's no nothing. It's clean. So if you walk into a shop and shit's all over the floor, your same shit's gonna be all over the floor like that. So if you feel like it's gonna be a bad thing, walk away. But at the same time, if the shop's up and up, you've been updated, you've been emailed like once every 3 days or something like that. Just relax, man. Just relax, relinquish control, do your thing, pick up your car when you're ready, and everybody will be happy, man. So that'll be it out on that, man. So that's it with that. It's. Yeah.
No, I think that's spot on, man.
Yeah.
I think I like the ones that you pick because you didn't pick the happy little cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect. You had ones that were very complex. 'Cause all those cars, I haven't worked on the R34, but the R32 variant is basically the same car in the sense of dimensions. Yeah,
same
stuff.
process, same everything, man.
Exactly. Yeah. So I understand firsthand how complex they are and how much intricate details you have to take to ensure that you don't have a coolant leak on the back turbo or whatever. And I actually, I follow everything you build. Anything you post, I follow just because I can relate to it. I do the same thing that you do every day. So, that being said, yeah, I watched you do that build, man, and you were flying through. I was like, wait a minute, the engine's already out. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, he's already got it on the damn on the engine stand. Wait a minute, it's going back in the car.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I gotta speed up. He's making me look bad.
Yeah.
But no, man, I definitely see it, and a lot of people that may not have watched your progression so far may not be able to see it the same way I do because I can tell I can see your detail work without you stating your detail work.
Right.
And so, yeah, man, all three of those that you mentioned, I was able to put a picture in my head and say, I could tell you details about each one. Like I remember that the GTO has like blue powder coating under the hood.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the R33 has a single turbo with the kick out with the dual maps. Yep. And of course the R34 is white, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and so to me that's cool. That means that your work it sticks out, man. For me to be able to remember those details, I see thousands of cars online every week. So yeah, damn good job, man, for sure.
Yeah, same with you, brother, man. I like I said, I check out. That's one of the things where we talked about offline, man. Where the people we're overtime now, but we talked about like people tend to support and rally behind what the clout or what the highest thing is, man. And they got people right under them. Like they got people right in their inbox or on their buddy list that are doing big shit. But to them, because they ain't this XYZ guy, it's not as cool. Same like for me, I mean, I'm in a thing right now. I'm the same thing that Kanye became a multimillionaire with. I have the same tools right next to me, and I'm just as good on them. It's just that the time frame that he started making his beats and when I was making mine, it was just you missed the boat. So now everybody's doing different things, and I'm not as known as Kanye for beat making, but I'm just as good at. I work with a lot of different guys, but the same thing with the car stuff, man. It's like I kind of, and it's one of those things. I mean, I know you can read my post and you know what I'm talking about because I made that post right after we talked. So there's some offline stuff that y'all guys won't be privy to that me and Alan talk about, but we was talking about a situation where there's guys right in your damn backyard, man, right in your damn backyard. Yep. They know you can do the work because they seen it and they follow you, but they will go to somebody else because they just for whatever reason they don't want to give you their money. And it's like, and you were like, hey, and you kind of diffused it because I think you could tell when I get angry, man. And you was like, hey, man, keep it positive. And I was like, all right, you're correct. Don't worry about that. I can't control that. Control the customers that come to me. And I just let it go. And it was what it was. I mean, when I seen a guy post on it, and I just fist bumped the guy 24 hours prior to that post, and we were talking about car stuff. And I'm like, dude, I do what you're asking the other shop to do, which is 6 hours down the road. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey,
right,
man,
if you want to travel 6 hours out your way to go get something done that somebody is
right
just as capable, if
right
not
there.
more capable, is right there in your backyard.
I mean, I'll tell you straight up, definitely more capable. That's one thing. That's one thing I know we got, man. And it's like, it's not a cockiness, it's a confidence, man. And it's a confidence in any situation. And that's the thing where I think with people out there, man, we confident people, man, they come across as cocky always because we're confident in our skin, we're confident in what we do, and we're not asking for your approval. And I think a lot of people out there, they're used to, hey, man, so what color should I go with? I've never seen you made a post like, I've done it jokingly. Because people know I'm going to paint it pink anyway. But I've never been on like, hey, man, so what I got these 3 colors, guys. Just go in and post and like, nah, we're not fucking. We know we're going to paint that shit.
What color should I paint my car? Yeah. What wheel should I get? Like, no, bro, you ain't going to never catch me with that shit. Yeah. And that's actually exactly what I was going to say about that situation is, I deal with the same thing, man. I see these guys, they'll go to another shop. Like, so I'm proud to be a solo shop. When you come to me, I'm working on your car. I'm doing the paperwork. I'm doing the tuning. I'm doing the fluid change. I'm doing everything A to Z.
And they actually like, they were like, so where are the staff at? I'm like, you looking at them? Because I know you get that.
You guys.
Yeah, you guys. and then some guys like I posting weed, but like I had a guy the other day, man. I'll let you get right back to it. A guy come in and he's like, he's walking around. I show him the shop because I'm like, what's the first time here? Let me show you my bay where your car's been worked on. And he's like, oh man, you do? I didn't know you. And he's right here. He's been there for 2 years, and he just never followed my page. And he was like, yeah. So like, he's like, so who else? Where's your other employees at? I'm like, that's it. This is me. So he's like, you do all this shit here? I'm like, you do all it? Like, yeah, that's all me, man. What you were saying though, man?
Facts. No, I agree 100%. I was just saying that that being the case with me doing all the work, why is it that I'm still putting out more cars than the shops that's got 4 and 5 employees?
Yep.
So like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not keeping up with them, but I know the same guy I bumped into the track that I sell safety equipment to told me his car is getting built. 6 months later, it's still there.
Yep.
And then I bump into him another 6 months later. It's been a year. He still ain't got his car back. That doesn't sound right. To me, when you've got 4 or 5 people that is doing the job, I'm a one man, and you let one man outdo you, that's pretty bad. Yeah. So that being said, man, look at the guys that are actually doing the work, that are actually putting up the results. It's not cockiness, it's confidence. If I can show you, okay, hey man, have you built a rotary? Oh, have you been on my website? There's 4 examples on there. I don't post. That's not even count. That's not even count my personal stuff. If you want to come here and hear 4 of my rotary cars run at the same time, you can. But at the same time, man, it's just like, if they want to chase clout and they want to go to that one shop because they house a Formula Drift car or a D1 spec car, then. Yeah. And they want to be affiliated with that type of energy, then go right ahead. But if you want a running car that's going to last, and out of all the motors I've built, man, dozens and dozens, not one has come back and say, hey, internal damage, internal failure, not one. Yeah. So then not a lot of shops can say that. Yeah, man. Same. I can say that too for customer cars that did. Like, I had one guy who car ran for a year. And I mean, in an engine thing, man, it should 30 minutes. Yeah, if it's gonna go 30 minutes, and if it's a catastrophic miss, 30 minutes or less. Yeah. If it's a minute miss, 30 days or less. Yeah. That's what I say. Yeah. So you get a whole year out of it. Then he changed the guy changed and I talked to him about this, so it's not behind his back. He had changed some fueling, and he wasn't aware that out the box it's not adjusted. So he was over. I mean, I pulled a dipstick. The oil smelled so much for like fuel. If like it could catch on fire if I put a light to it. That's how bad it was, man. So all about that. Even for a year, that's still pretty. Even for a year, that's still pretty fresh for
built engine to have washed out the rings and everything like that. It's so yeah, man. It's in that thing about it. I schooled him on it. He acknowledged it. Now the dude's actually he's building his own because he had another one done and the other one was. So stuff happens, man. The thing about it, if you're doing
it's inevitable.
If you do things improperly, though, shit's definitely gonna happen. If you do things properly, stuff's gonna happen. But if you do it wrong, you show up at the track without if you're checking your car at the track, you're behind. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If you're checking your car at the track, you need to check that car the night before, the day before you load it up on that thing and lock it in, and then you already know it's checking at the track. You still check torque again just to you know how it is, man. So
you're probably like me. You're probably like me, man. If I don't have the time to check it the day or 2 days before and I already have it preloaded, I won't even go. I won't even show up with the car.
Because I wasted money. I wasted money. I got to the track and I knew the car wasn't going to be. I knew it had like kind of a boost leak, and I knew all the issues before you go to the damn track, and then you get out there and the car looks like shit, and then you got to come back to the pits and make excuses as to why it was doing this and why it was doing that. And now that I'm a shop, that's why I've been away so long, because now I got to target those same guys. Like if I go there and I look shitty, it confirms to them it confirms to them why they're going to this other shop and not to me. So now, I mean, if I go to the track, it's just my own. I go there by myself. MSP, you see how it is. I go there at 12 o'clock and it's just me, and I want to test some stuff out. But if you got an audience, I'm not going there until I know I can drive, but I'm going to make sure the car is good. I want to make sure everything's good to go, because they're just waiting for like you to have a not good day. And it happens to everybody, but they was waiting for you to be like, oh man, see, I told you so, man. That dude ain't worth shit.
And here's my point on that.
Yeah.
I know you and I both probably got easily 1,000 hours on what best motoring hot version, right?
Yeah.
How many times have you seen? I've seen the Mines R34. I've seen Top Secret. I've seen Aria Mimya Feet
have issues.
They 5-lap battle. They pulling their ass right back in the pits.
It happens,
and
dude.
It
happens.
And there's nothing wrong with those shops. Those are some of the best shops in the world.
Yeah.
But it's inevitable.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're dealing with machinery, and they're made by humans. They're gonna have human error, and parts have failure. So at the end of the day, they just looking for a bullshit reason to tell themselves why they not fucking with the real people.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. And you nailed it right there, man. That was a great analogy. And also, I mean, to even step that up even higher, NASCAR and F1. Like, how many times you see a NASCAR engine blow? How many times you see an F1 engine blow? And I'm talking about, shit, man, one engine, I know for a fact, one engine could engulf my whole goddamn program, as far as all the cars I own. And we talking about one engine alone with the engineering. Like, people don't really. Like, even for NASCAR, people make fun of it, but they don't know NASCAR has their private. I know it exists because they kind of touched on. They got their private track or private testing where they can run that damn car up on a damn flatbed, full balls out inside of a goddamn warehouse, and they got all types of tech in those cars, even though they just turned
out. They think NASCAR is like this redneck kind of thing, but it's a $1 billion sport, man. People don't realize, I think for about 10 years in a row, NASCAR was the highest earning sport outside of F1. Highest domestic sport in the United States. They make more money than any domestic sport.
How many, those stadiums hold way more people than like a football stadium, correct?
Yeah, a football stadium holds like a big, like a Dallas Cowboys stadium holds like 40, maybe 45,000.
Yeah.
Even Atlanta Speedway a whole 70,000 people.
These things are huge, man. Like
huge. And you got to realize the people that go to NASCAR, not everybody sits in the stand. Most of them, they pull their RV in and watch it on TV. They just at the event. They're inside the event. So they paid for grass to see the event on TV in the grass parking lot.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
Yeah, dude. So that's I break that. I use that. I use F1 a lot when I talk to customers, man, because it just helps. Like you said, man, you can be. it's like you want to fly a plane is one thing, man. But you're talking about flying a rocket to the fucking Mars, and people like talk stuff on Elion, man. It's like they don't realize that guy's like he's kind of feeling himself now, and he's like he's getting into the the limelight. That dude's smart as hell, man, and people don't realize half the shit he says. Like he's just his mind capacity is way beyond normal people, and so now he dumbs himself down to just kind of be understood. And so he's making jokes and stuff, and like he's fucking with everybody, dude. His mental capacity is different.
Yeah. Oh, wait, on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like I don't know a lot, but I know a couple people.
Yeah.
That just operate on that type of wavelength.
Yeah. And if you try
just to keep,
dude,
it's a whole nother level. Like I've got to mediate, because I have to concentrate, but I can understand them.
Yeah.
But then I have to mediate for the other guy that's just standing there. That's like a technician. Like, no, that's not what he's saying, man. I've got this buddy named Joe. They call him Joe Bot.
Joe.
He's literally like a robot. We call him Joe. His name's Joe Bot. He can build anything. Like he's got a 350 V8 lawnmower that he built from scratch. He's got he builds welding mechanisms that rotate, so when he welds, he can weld like in a certain way. He's got wind up gates. He builds things just from scratch, like out of junk parts, and he'll break down and explain to you in all different types of terms and vernacular of gravity and geometry, how it works. But if you're not on that wavelength, it's gonna go right over your head, man. So those type of people, like Elon, man, you're right. What they really do is they filter down their thoughts are, and they filter it down into a dummy level. And then that's why that's not how it went through his head.
Right, and that's why you see him on Rogan. People wonder why, even Zuckerberg, those guys they're I mean, it's a bad, I'm guilty of it too, man, because I know my stuff and what I gotta do, man. One thing, I try to slow down, because being from Baltimore and New York, we talk a little fast, and I could tell the customer they don't want to say slow down and repeat it because they don't want to offend or whatever. Now I'll look at their face and I'll repeat it, and I'll just slow down and everything, because I know what I'm talking about. I'm not because if you talk with a too slow and it sounds like you don't know what the hell you're talking about, or you're just maybe guess, you never really hear when you hear Musk speak, you never really hear him say, well, I think, or I suppose, or he's spot on what the hell he's talking
adamant.
about.
Yeah.
And he on Rogan, people was why does he look in the air and why does he speak? Because he's trying to say what he wants to say to make people understand it. Because I'm pretty sure he's dude, I could talk at a high level and none of you would get what I'm talking about, man. None of you would get it. And that's why I think we're at with the car stuff, man, to make it make sense, man. We can we could talk in jargon and everything, but I do a good job personally, I know, of breaking it down and making it seem obtainable for the owner to understand. And also, one thing I do with all my customers, I always, when I talk, and I'll talk for about 5 minutes, hey man, have you done this before? Or you know what I'm doing, or you know what I'm talking about? That way I'm not I don't want to seem like I'm talking down to them. You know what I'm saying? If they already done it before, unless they're lying, if you already took engine apart before, well, you already know what I'm going to do. So you ain't got to ask me what's the next step. Go YouTube for that. But the yeah, man, it goes to the territory, man. But we're at about 140 right now. So what I want to do, man, is your best honorable, let's say best, but your honorable mention. They didn't make the top 3. But what's one of the cars that could have been in that category of the your to this point your top 3 builds?
So a good honorable mention, I would probably have to go. That's tough, man. I split between. I built what's called. Okay, I'll go with this one. This customer name's Jeffrey. He's a good guy. He's actually half Japanese. His mom's Japanese, his dad's white or whatever. But so he's really into Japanese culture and stuff. So he saw the Tech Arts A86.
Gotcha.
He had an A86 coupe, and he wanted this monster 7AG crazy build. So the people that don't know what a 7AG is, basically it's a 7 AFE block, which is a 1.8 liter, uh, um, out of a 93 to 97 front wheel drive Corolla. That block has the same dimensions and same bolt pattern. It has a different head on it. So you can take that block, that 7 AFE, and make a 20 valve or 16 valve 4AG head on it. And basically what you do is you jump from 1.6 to a 1.8 liter.
Gotcha.
And so it's very similar to doing like an RB30/25/26.
Right.
And so he wanted that Frankenstein build. Well, I built multiple 4AGs, or he requested that, but I never built the 7AG. So not only did I have to do the research to make sure, that I measured 10 times cut once, but I had to machine the block. I had to spec out the pistons properly for it, make sure that the rod and piston deck height, to make sure that was perfect to match where it wouldn't slap the valves.
Right.
All that stuff I had to measure to spec, because there really wasn't any documentation at the time on how to do it. So that was a really good build, because I ended up making like right under 200 horsepower out of a NA 1.8 liter, which that's a tall feat.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So I did custom made JE pistons, obviously rings, forged rods on it, custom camshafts, fully built and oversized valves, titanium valve springs. I mean, from the valve cover to the oil pan, it was all replaced and upgraded. And that ended up turning out a great build. Good customer. Obviously relinquished control. No issues there. And the cool thing about that being an honorable mention is that when he posted or he talked about that engine or shared that engine, because a lot of people hadn't seen one of those been made stateside, he always plugged my shop.
That's awesome.
Gave me all the credit. And you know how sometimes that's not the case.
I got one of these on the list is one of those.
Unfortunately.
But man. So that speaking on that, that's awesome that you say that, because I got my kids, they graduated from Lightning McQueen. That's not, so now they're on initial D. They cleared initial D.
Okay.
So now they're watching the it's called Free Race Speedway in the States, but it's like the Shoto, I forgot the concept. It's like the Long Gun Midnight live action before the live action. So they're watching that now. So now they're advanced, right? So the
right.
So like I'm about to say, man, the goddamn. Oh yeah, all right. So I was watching those guys with the initial D, like they rewatched the part where the Takumi blew the engine and everything, and of course he gets the Group A engine and blah blah blah. So I was like, man, I never really looked it up, so I looked it up, and somebody Drive Tribe did the breakdown of why you can't get the engine and why if you had that engine it will break if you drove it normal. So like that Group A engine, like what I'm talking about, that engine has to be revved the shit out of. You cannot take that engine, and that's where a lot of customers don't understand.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that engine, that same type engine, they idle at like 2,500 RPM.
So you're not
you can't fucking drive that at the red light.
Yeah, dude. So and that's what the dudes. I'm like, bro. You got cams, you got this, you got that. I had to explain to them why their idle has to be 12 now. And they're like, man, but I want it at 9. I'm like, dude, it's not going to run at 9. If you start it up at 9, it's always going to cut off. It's not going to run.
Yep.
And they like, well, I wanted that. I'm like, bro, all right, so I can take your cams out. I can undo some stuff, and you can idle at 900 RPMs. And like I break it down, man. Like before I do this, it's going to vibrate. It's going to idle higher. You got a Helltech, and the Helltech is good and everything, but I was at D1, and I think I talked to you about this. I was at D1 GP at Tsukuba about 2 weeks ago, right? All these cars out there are tuned to the gills, but all of them start up like shit. Every last Daigo's car. Like multiple cranks to get it, the prime, the start up, and when it starts up.
Burn the starter up.
When it starts up, black smoke comes out, and then like a minute later, it's purring. And people don't understand, man. Like it's not. They think we're bullshitting or we're like the tune is not good. I'm like, dude, these Haltech links and all these Motecs, they're not made for you to drive to the grocery store. You can do it, but it's made for you to beat the. It's made for you to be up in the upper realms. That's where the tuning matters. Not the first cell is just idling. That's just keeping your engine on. That shit's meant to be 5,000, 8,000 RPMs up there.
Right, just enough to get you by.
Yeah, man. So I break that down a lot, and everybody understands it. And I think that's why I don't have a lot of I know that's why I don't. I always break things down just like I know you do to customers, man. And if you don't say that, then it's been times where I haven't said things, and it's kind of come back, and I'm like, well, now I should have said that. And nobody's perfect. The check ride thing started because I built the guy's engine the first time, and I gave him the car back. I didn't actually 32 because I've done it so many times. I'm like, I know it's good. I've already drove it myself. And when he got there, and he kind of brought up a valid point, I had to swallow my pride and say, yeah, he's correct. So I took him for a test drive, and I made that. And that was my first year. I made a no, sorry, that was my second year. I made it a thing after that. If I'm doing anything mechanical, we got to go for a test drive to break down the nuances. This is why this is sounding like that. This is why this is feeling like this, and different things. And also that guy too, I pointed out his idler was bad from before I started. So I was like, I can delete it and save you $500, or I can change it and you got to spend $650 plus labor for the AIC for the RB26. And I'm like, I can idle it up mechanically, adjust your throttle bodies, do all that stuff. And after that car, perfect idle, start up, never shut off. So some guys just don't heed and see, or they don't want to, hear what you got to say, man. So that's how it is on that, man.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like you said, it's just our responsibility to educate them. And we know every time that, like you said, that one time you were just kind of just over it in a sense. Yeah. Like you just said, okay, it's good to go. I test drove it. The one time you didn't do that test drive, come bit you in the ass. Yeah. So one thing we both know is that we always follow our policies, man. And then it's a lot more smooth sail. So well,
especially when it's cool is when you drive it perfectly, then they get in it. What I do this on purpose. I actually drive to a point, and then I let them drive back. So I drive out so they can see how it runs with it. Somebody knows can manipulate the clutch and do everything. They get in there and that shit stalls the first time, and they get in there. I'm like, dude, you gotta let it out. Dude. It's like because the clutch.
Yep, that's it. It's like, yep, I had that happen to me with last weekend when I rung him his 80. I could tell that was his only. I could tell that's his only 5-speed car. Yeah. Because I was like, dude, he's about to burn the hell out of this clutch, and then he gonna swear the clutch is bad. Yeah. But I was like,
so you took him for a drive in it.
Yeah, I took him for a drive, and I said, look, now you go drive around the block. You make sure it's good. I make sure that he come back and drive back and say everything's good before I left. So
yeah. Gotcha, man. It's especially been it's cool that guys come from out of state. I've I almost had an art that remember I showed you the R33 that we the guy thought it was something that it was. Yep. Yeah. So that was gonna be my first out of Let me man, it's crazy. We do so many builds, we really forget shit, man.
Yeah, it's man. Time is flying, man. I can't believe we're already 3 months into this year.
Yeah. So I haven't done any out of Amori builds. I've done builds from different parts of like Amori, but nothing outside yet.
I already know they coming though.
Oh yeah, man. When that cappuccino, when that hits, man, I already had people off that one video on YouTube like blowing for that week.
Was nuts.
They're blowing it up, and then they kind of subsided because one guy wanted a Gixxer. He wanted the Hayabusa engine and his cappuccino, but I'm like, dude, you can't put it on a road. He wanted to do road rack. I'm like, you can't do it.
That's gonna be a track car, man. You don't understand how crazy.
Well, then he pretty much was like, I'll give you a blank check, and I was like, but I can do it, but it's not gonna be road legal. Doesn't matter how.
You can't change state laws.
Can't change this. So anyway, man. So I'll wrap up on mine, and we'll wrap up and everything. But so my honorable mention was my guy Ben R32, which you guys probably seen it because the dude Kenny McKee did a video on it. It was a Millennium Jade R32, had the blue wheels that I painted. The engine bay was all blue and everything. The engine was blue. So you guys probably seen that one. I'll throw up some images of it, of course. So this one, the reason why I didn't go into the top because it was a continuation build. They started it, they did the machine work and everything, and it was done. It was done by the same guy I used, so I knew the machine work was good. But the guy had, he fell on hard times. He had some personal issues going on. He like myself, he was a Iraq, Kuwait vet, so he had some PTSD stuff going on too. And he was hitting a rough patch, man. And I was like, of course I charged him, and he, again, great guy, great, always when I need this, money in the account. It was no question. The dude was good. He was good financially, and those guys are you kind of know when you ask for it, you're gonna get it, and not be like, oh fuck, man, well, I gotta wait until the 15th, and and it's nothing against anybody out there. It's just everybody's a little bit different, and if you're struggling, I had to tell one guy, I'm like, look, man, if you're struggling to do this, I would rather do it at a later time when you're better off in your life, because this is going to create an issue. And
that's right.
Then you're telling me
about
have
your priorities together.
Yeah, you like the fact that, like, I was like, dude, please stop telling me about your person. He was like, oh man, well, I got to take my wife. I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to. That's not my. You're making this personal.
Not a counselor, man.
Yeah, he was like, well, I got to send this back to my grandma, and I'm like, dude, please stop telling me what you're doing with your money. I only care about my bottom dollar and what you got to pay me for this. So anyway, Ben's 32, man. I continued it for the engine was just everything was everything was apart. But Patrick Sellers, I gotta give him a shout out. Patrick Sellers had category, everything was cataloged. So even though it wasn't built in a shop, it was done in a shop-like manner. So when I got it, everything was labeled. Everything was cam bolt covers. Everything was labeled, man. So Patrick and him did a great job on that. And that was the only reason I took it on, because I knew Patrick was in it, and he had had a hand in it. So I continued it. So this was also the first time and the last time I did a satellite job, because it didn't run. The engine was out of it. Everything was on the ground. So I had to get I had to do something to get what did I do, man? So I put I forgot. I can't remember, man. Fuck. So the car, I was like, hey, I did enough. I put the engine in there at his house, right? So I put the engine I put the engine into the car at his house. But I was like, dude, I got
you really satellite.
Yeah. So I was like, nah, dude, the engine's sitting in the car now. Now I gotta go back and do my I gotta do this at my shop, man. He was a buddy of mine, so I kind of was like, nah, man. And he was like, no problem, man. So I packed up all the stuff, got the car, got a trailer, took it to my shop, and finished it at my shop. And yeah, man, it came out great. He was happy, and he was going through a really tough time in his life. And that car, man, it was kind of hard to find joy type of stuff going on in his life, right? So I got him the car, man, and a dude, he's a martial arts guy, big dude, man, but he kind of dude feel like he almost start crying when I gave him the key back, and we went on a test drive, because it was just like an emotional release. And this is how.
Oh yeah, he needed that escape. He needed that relief.
This car, man. I was like, fuck, man, I really don't want him to go to Tokyo right after I put the engine together and everything. But that's what he did. He drove. I built the engine. I put a base tune on it. There was some other issues with some airflow meters when the tune was a little bit rich. But him and Patrick, they drove from my shop. They went to Midori. They drove his car to Midori, a Midori shop, and picked up some stuff and everything. They went to the Newsome factory. So this is a car that comes from my shop, built by me. Then he's visiting MCR and all these guys. He drove from there. That was his break-in, because he was going to leave Misawa in like 2 or 3 weeks. He was gone from Japan. So he's like, dude, I want to go on the road. So I was like, dude, please drive it around an hour first and make sure everything's good to go. And then don't just hit on a toll road, because, if something happens, then I'm up here, man. So yeah, man, I built it. We picked it up, and he drove 8 hours down and 8 hours back, man. That's reliability, man.
Yeah, that feels good, man. That gratification.
And actually more than 8 hours, because he went, like I say, I think he went to MCR, and I'm not sure where they at, but they're not in Tokyo, I don't believe. But he drove.
They're over there in Chiba.
Yeah, so they went all down there, and Chiba's a little bit southern from Tokyo. So yeah, man, to me that was a big confidence boost, because it was like, hey man, I know my work's good, but at the same time, it's like we said, shit happens, man. Like hose fitting come off, or maybe a clip on the injector backs out, or something like that. anything
Right.
can happen,
Yeah.
man.
At the end of the day, things rattle, vibrate, loosen up. You
Yeah,
can tighten that thing perfect to spec. It don't mean it ain't gonna rattle,
right.
loose, or vibrate.
Yeah. So that was definitely my honorable mention. Like I said, if I would have did that from beginning to end, definitely would have been in there, man. I think it would have knocked out the GTO. But yeah, man. So I mean, so guys out there, man, listening, man. Again, we're right at 158, a little bit at an hour and 50 minutes and everything. I don't want to burn too much time, and I know it's nighttime for you, and I actually got to start work. It's 12 here now, so it's about to be 1. So guys out there, again, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope one thing I wanted to do this for, man, because I want to practice on not fucking talking over my guests. To be honest, man, you gotta just get excited sometimes to talk to guests, and I don't realize I'm talking a little bit too much, man. So I definitely see the comments out there. It doesn't happen a lot, but I want to get that nipped in the bud before it gets popular. I don't want to be like there's a lot of podcasts out there where the dudes just talk too damn much, and they don't let their guests say nothing,
Right.
man. So yeah, that was it's twofold, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, I definitely.
You know me, I'll squeeze
Oh
my
yeah,
shit
yeah,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why you're good. You're good, Lex.
Speaking of
yeah,
which,
yeah. What you got there?
yeah, baby.
Yeah, man.
Y'all need to take your asses over to bridgemoto.com
Got
and
you.
get you a JGTC steering wheel. Donald has the lava pink style one.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about our wheels, they're all hand baseball stitched. They're built on a 6mm base, won't bend or crack
Yeah.
on you. And they're rad and made out of real genuine suede, man. Check out support
Hey.
real safety equipment company drivers that actually get their ass out on the track and drive, not guys in Italy that's sitting on the beach.
Yep. Speaking on that, man, I'm actually gonna have to buy another one because my other one, I fucking the car wasn't running, so I was you use the steering wheel as a kind of to push the car.
Push.
Yeah. So and it's suede, so that's gonna be probably the first time they ever gonna get a steering wheel at the dry cleaners because I'm taking it there. Cause
they're clean it.
So I'm gonna take the steering wheel. They're be like, Nani, like clean this, please, because it got grease all on it and everything, man. And speaking of that, man, you might have heard of this guy, British Moto, man. I got these nice gloves right here, and I got this toe strap.
Hey.
Yeah, man. So I got this in and everything, and I'm gonna do another video on that separately from this, man. But yeah, man, like I said, guys there watching, listening, everything, man. There was a time before me and Alan met that I was using a certain company for like helmet stuff, but that company is good, but they're Icon. It was it's motorcycle. They're not for you can't take that helmet and go to a FIA event. So Alan, that's one thing I got to get. I got to get a new helmet. I got to get a new suit. And the reason I kind of delayed it, we talked about it, is because I just knew I wasn't going to be doing.
Right. You want it up to date when you get back fully active.
Yeah, so I don't want to get it and then it sits and everything, and then whatever. Anyway, but guys, there safety gear, man. Again, it's one thing, man, to mass sell it, but to have a guy like yourself show up at events, plug the stuff out there with the drivers. If a driver needs a pair of gloves, you got some right there, and right there.
That's
if somebody, God forbid, needs a suit on the spot, you got a suit right there, unless you're like a little bit overweight, which you should monitor that. But
and we got them too. We'll take care of them too.
But yeah, man, to have a guy like yourself to travel, you guys who've been on the thing a while, you go back and he told the story a little bit, man, how they sold everything they had and traveled, pretty much like not a circus, but they followed the events, man. Like, we ain't got to name names, man, but those other ones out there ain't doing that. They ain't at those
Hell
events,
no.
and this is where we get into it, man. Where the show support to those guys who are going to support you and really look out for your well being versus those guys you would never be able to ever even talk to, ever. You just wouldn't. I'd never try to contact the president of Sparkle because why would I? Because I'm not going to talk to him. I'll talk to 30 people before I get to him, probably. So
that's it.
You're not going to talk to my guy right here, man. So definitely you got my.
That's it. You can come to the source right here, baby.
Yeah. So we got that, man. So you got any closing remarks? Any closing any events coming up you're going to be doing or stuff like that?
Yeah. So my first event of the year that I'm going to be driving in is March 19th. That's called the Death of Winter, because we literally are killing off winter that driving event. I got to decide what I'm going to drive, but if that's my hardest,
oh man, you baller!
Decision, I'm doing good, baby.
Like, man.
Another thing cool I've got coming up is a magazine feature.
Nice.
So I'm not going to talk too much about that, but when it drops, I'll definitely plug it in, and of course I'm gonna send you some copies over there and some new gear and stuff. But no, man, that's just all easy publicity for the business is the way I do it.
Mm.
Uh, so my focus now, you're gonna see me bunkering down and getting a lot more of my
Yeah.
personal stuff done. And then so what I've done is I've gotten the big multi-month bills done, and now what I'm gonna be doing is just working on what I call my 48 hour, like the TV show 48 hours.
Mm.
If I can't do it in 48 hours, I'm gonna have to reschedule some other
Yep.
season. I'm only taking 48-hour jobs, clutch jobs, brake jobs, suspension jobs, that kind of stuff. Wiring, I can do that in 48
Yeah.
hours usually. That's what I'm doing so that I can get my
Yeah,
shit
man.
going, man. Because I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines. I know you are
Yeah,
too.
dude.
Let's go do
And then,
some
yeah,
work.
no, just like me, man. Half the cars got the stuff inside of them, like they're just part.
Oh, dude!
Yeah.
Oh, come on, bro! You know my shit packed to the gills. You can't even. If you go to one side of the glass, all you're gonna see is cardboard.
Yeah.
You go to the other side of the glass, cardboard, because you can't see through it. Every single car I got's got parts galore.
Yeah.
All I gotta do is put my hands on.
Yeah, exactly, man. Then I think we got a good thing where I got my own personal junkyard, which is not a junkyard, but if I need a brake boost star for a GDB WRX, I got
Too easy,
I got 3 of those. I got 3 STIs.
Right. Oh, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this diff bag. Oh, I'm gonna go grab that
Yeah.
diff. I'll replace
And
that
then
one later.
I write on the windshield what shit I took off of it so I can put it back on it, because my S13, my
smart.
comp car, I borrowed the diff, I borrowed the driveline, to keep the doors open. I used the parts to put another RB into another car, and now that car don't got it, the diff's still there, but the trans is gone. So I used like the fuel pressure regulator on another car, and I was like, fuck, now you got to buy all this shit back. But it was old anyway. It's gonna change it anyway.
You're gonna refresh it anyway, and at the end of the day, it's your car.
Yeah.
So guess what? You just moving.
Yeah, man.
But hey, before we
Yeah.
go, I got one last closing question. Out of all your cars, which one are you gonna focus on when we talk about competition driving? What you gonna focus on first, and why?
For competition, it's gonna be the competition. It's going to be the S14, the one I just recently got.
Yeah, because you already put the motor in,
yeah,
right?
that one. More so that one, because that one is closer to. I want to say that one's close to because FD Japan is what I'm looking at targeting. Both.
Okay.
Cool thing about both, actually simultaneously, both I'm gonna have the S13 and S14 are both going to be like they fully running like within the next month and a half. So I have two pro.
Right.
I have 2 pro cars, but think about the S13. While it's a 12-point bolt in case, they're changing the rules a little bit. So that one is good for like everything below D1 street legal lights and below. So I can do anything there. But for FD, I think they're changing the rules where it has to be a welding, and the S14 is a welding cage. I think I have to redesign the main hoop a little bit to fill the rule books, but I can just cut that out and redesign what I got to do.
Yeah, that's easy.
The bar is going across diagonally, and it kinks up, and it like how it's bent up at an angle. But I'm a little bit bigger, so right now, when I sit in the car with a helmet on, my head hits the dent. My head rests on a cage. That's a no go. Yeah, they got to get cut out of there. So anyway,
yeah, you can clip that.
Yeah, they got to go. So so anyway, that one. The reason I want to focus on that because my focus is kind of changing. Well, D1 is what it is, man. But I'm not gonna spin in circles to. D1 is killing themselves, man. You guys from the outside looking in. D1 GP is what everybody would aspire to, wanting to do, man. But D1 GP is kind of they're not getting with the times, man. FD is they're pushing it up, man. And FD Japan is
FD Japan is taking off.
Yeah, and
it's taking off.
D1 GP,
I've been keeping up with it.
D1 GP is kind of they got the old guard syndrome, man. And I'm like, dude, I'll match my skill with anybody there. Seat time is seat time, but I'm like, bro, I just can't. I honestly, I don't got the pockets to compete with an LFA drift car or it's just, you know what I'm saying? They're making it supercar.
Here's my flavor on it. My flavor on it is like, okay, so the D1 it's D1 street legal is now D1 lights.
D1
is
lights.
That correct?
So pretty much D1 lights.
So my thing is with you having basically 2 chassis to set up differently or set up how you please, I think it'd be awesome to throw some flavor in the lights on them, and then pull over in FD Japan, and that'd be the one that you're going for the full, like, so you do the D1 lights however you feel like which ones you going to,
Right.
but FD Japan, you may go every round and go for a championship kind of thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, FD Japan now has more of a global
It does.
viewing than D1GP.
Right.
But at the same time, I think you kicking ass in D1 lights shows that notoriety on the domestic base of those customers
you got
too.
Yeah.
You know
So you gotta fill all the circles, man. They actually just came out with a new one called D1. It's not D1. It's called there's another series that is launched, and I forgot the name of it, but it's like they're trying to the thing is, man, MSC, you got drift muscle, all these different variants are coming up now in Japan, and now in D1 is not the only kid on the block. They're not saying who can drive where, but it's clear that it's you can see it clear as day. Andy Gray don't drive at certain events. Some guys don't drive at certain.
It's the same.
Yeah, dude. So there's just like you can tell whoever runs the event, if they're cool, I'll drive in it. If there's anybody in that faction that I don't like, I will not drive in that event, and that happens, man. So you can see clear as day. The same reason why Robbie, who we all know, Robbie Nishida, he spent more time as a pro driver outside of Japan, and he's half breed, everything. So it's like he just like the vibe there is like, dude, I'm not gonna go through this shit, man. Robbie's a chill, laid back guy. He ain't got time for that crap that they want to put down. Daigo deals with it, other people deal with it. My guy Masanori just won a championship, and he's affiliated with Team Orange. It's just a thing where there's more options now, and I'm not gonna waste my money to not be appreciated. I just want to have a fair shake, and if I lose, I lose.
That's it.
But I don't want to be already counted out before I even start my car up. And that's it.
No, man, that makes perfect sense. Because at the end of the day, give me the same playing field and let our driving talk. Don't be like, oh, well, he's in my clique.
Yeah,
and
it definitely happens, man.
I know his dad, so he's gonna get the win unless he screws up and goes off the course backwards or something.
Yeah, it happens, man. And that's one. Unfortunately, guys out there who are looking to do any. I mean, Judge is kind of because it's a Judge thing, and that's honestly why drifting is cool. But honestly, man, the money is going. You asked me the question, man. I went on a tirade, man. But the grip is my next 3 years. That's what I'm looking to capitalize on. That's that cappuccino down there. The the Evo 1, the MR swap that's going to go down. Grip is where the money's going to come. Option Magazine, they want to do features. That's the money, man. Drifting is just not. It's just not lucrative, man. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's lucrative for some shops, but they got a very, very, very small select group of people that can afford that type of work. Everybody else, they can't afford as drifters to do what we're doing.
No, and it's just like you said before, man. You're not your average drifter. 90% of them have to learn to be the technician, the body man, the everything.
Case in point,
because they can't afford it. Yeah, exactly.
So I just
versus versus the street driving guy and the track guys. They can't afford for somebody just to set
little
up.
Little demographic, and also they're I haven't. I know for a fact, man. I haven't, dude. 5 years now. I haven't built I haven't had a customer come in for a drift build. I've been over 5 years, and there's a ton of drifters here. They just when they ask me for the quote, I send it back, and the email never gets it goes, man. But anyway, man, that's another thing for another time, man. Guys, are there again. Just want to go ahead and tell you guys to go ahead and the page is growing. Just make sure you share things. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Again, we're going to do this more as far as we always chop it up, but I'll bring up little topics we can go on, like when we start following F1 or whatever. That way, kind of we're not looking to be. I'm not a journalist because a lot of podcasts they just regurgitate what everybody else is regurgitating, which is like looking at CNBC and like I'm like nobody want to hear about that shit. You know what I mean? So
right.
Anyway, man, we'll have some topics. If you got some cool stuff you want to run, some cool stuff, just run it by me. We can get it in there and chop it up and get to it, man. So again, guys, out there, thanks for tuning in. It's gonna be Donnie signing off from South Japan. Got my guy Alan in Talking Rock, Georgia. British Moto Touge Techniques.
Sir, ain't no more playing, GA.
Yeah, check out those links and everything, and just stay busy, stay active, stay positive, and just stay in your lane and and make sure you have other people staying in their lane when they're dealing with you, man. Make your life is already difficult when you're doing everything properly. So just do everything on up and up and make it easy, man. Don't lie about stuff, and it makes your life easier. And trust me, if you're looking to do business stuff, the minute you start lying and the minute you start doing this, it's just going to be a snowball effect. You got to lie for the lie, and then now your credibility is ruined, man. So keep it up, keep it straight up, and you'll be good to go. All right, so see you guys later. Donnie signing out. See you guys later. Peace.